Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to a Thursday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Along with G. Bush and Tyvis Powell, I'm Adam the Bull. We've got Mike, we've got Anthony, we've got Steve, we've got Earl, all on the other side of the glass, or Earl in his perch, of course. And it'd be funny if it was actually a perch, that Earl was like up on a perch.
Like it like was a bird perch. With like,
yeah, right.
Like he's up high with like twigs around. And there's like 2 dinosaur eggs right next to it on the perch.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
We need to invest in that, but we don't have the money. So we won't be doing that. But a lot to get to today. Could the Guardians signing of Paul Sewald, a player that probably 90% of the audience doesn't know who he is,
Never heard of
be a precursor to a blockbuster move by the Guardians? I heard one person today say they think it could be. The Cleveland Cavaliers with a heartbreaking loss to the much maligned by G. Bush Houston Rockets last night.
You was dogging them?
Oh, he was dogging
I
them.
was killing the Rockets.
Really?
I was killing the Rockets.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Sad.
I was destroying them.
Yeah.
Giving them
Plus,
work.
we'll talk to, I forgot his name.
Dan Titus.
Dan Titus about the Cavs and the NBA in general. All coming up. We're going to start with the Browns in just a minute. Guys, how we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
It's cold as heck outside.
It's not as bad today as the last couple of days,
Yeah,
though.
the last couple of days.
Today it's like normal, very cold.
Man,
The kids actually going
Back to school today,
yeah, my face was hurting the other
They
day.
had a long little mini vacation, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about your school district, but
Well, my daughters is in preschool, so.
Oh, yeah. But at my son's school in Rocky River, they were off Friday because it was some like teachers something day, and then obviously Monday was Martin Luther King Day, and then 2 days in a row. So he had 6 days, and last night even though he's been off for 6 days in a row, Aaron had the Sunday night blues last night. He was not feeling going to bed.
The Sunday
Those are the worst.
The worst. Listen, I'm gonna tell you what.
That definitely is terrible as a kid. You be sitting there.
Yeah.
See, this is back when I used to watch Sunday night football. Once
Man.
that Sunday night game come on, you just sitting there like, man, we got to go to school
This
tomorrow.
is terrible.
man.
Yeah.
You know what hurts even more is having a Sunday night blues when you work a job you hate.
Oh, yeah.
Like
that's
when
right.
you get to Sunday night blues and you think of every reason.
Knock on wood, I can't relate.
Yes.
I know. Listen. Oh, I can relate.
Yeah?
Listen, I'd work.
Oh, I can relate too.
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago. It's been a while for me.
mean, I don't consider this work. I just now stopped working regular jobs. Like 2 days ago. And boy, you be looking around like, man, I can't kill no more family members off. They already gone. Listen,
you be using this
oh, bro,
excuse?
listen, you know, I mean,
I gotta
listen, I can't do it. My ankles hurt.
Did my aunt die? Did I use that one yet?
Man, I got food poisoning. No, I use that too close. Like you think of every excuse not to walk into that job.
That's
It is
right.
the nastiest feeling in the bottom of your stomach, and you just like, I hate my boss.
You know, it's funny that you say that because right before I was about to become a
broadcaster.
No, a guy that does radio from time to time.
Yeah.
I was actually about to do some factory work. Oof. And my brother, who I don't claim as my brother, but for this story, he's my brother. He tells me, he said, listen, you know that NFL stuff. You know that football stuff. He said, listen to me.
Yeah.
You don't want that factory job.
He gave you good
He
advice.
said, I'm telling you right now, do not take that factory job. So I went through the whole interview process and everything. The guy was like, listen, you can start whenever. You just tell me when you want to start. We already accepted you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him that. He said that. And the next thing I know, I ended up getting like the radio gig down in Columbus. I got a call from Steve to do this and all these other
Get
things.
that. It all came together.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it's kind of crazy how that happened at that time. But yeah, I remember like my brother was like, you going to be just like what G talking about. You is not going to want to go up there.
I worked at a place called Republic Storage. And they made lockers for all of all the schools, like metal lockers. And I worked there in the summer, and I was working a shift that started at 1 to 1. 1 p.m. to 1 a.m.
That's
mandatory.
Sheesh.
And they was giving overtime. And you know
Yeah.
what I did?
You took the overtime?
They would pour the metal in this factory for the lockers, and then they would go through the conveyor belt. And my job, no lie, was taking doors off a cart, putting them on a conveyor belt for hours.
Yeah.
I was jacked because the doors was like up to 50 pounds. But I learned that right then. I said, look, man, you learn really quickly what you don't ever want to do.
Oh, damn
and
right.
you respect people. Because there was a young lady that worked there, and she was a small mama too, and she was putting the doors up just as fast as me. And I said, this is wild, bro. Let's shout out to her. I don't remember her name, but them people that used to come in there, I got a lot of respect for them because they had got so used to it that they be having conversations.
Yeah.
How long did you last?
Man, I lasted the whole summer. I needed to, because I was moving to North Carolina and I didn't have a car. So I needed to get some quick money. The money was great.
Oh, that's what they say. That factory work, the money good.
But it's 12, it's 1 to 1.
Yeah.
I dropped out of college when I was 19, and I worked at Pizza Hut. I worked at Taco Bell.
Damn.
I did a couple other small things, and then I got a job working for an oil company, and I was like the gopher for the executives. Like, I'd go get lunch. I'd go do all these crappy things. And I remember I did that for like 3 years, and I was like 24, 25 at this point, and I'm like, I can't do this the rest of my life.
What am I
the hell
doing?
am I doing?
Yeah.
So I went back to college. The rest is history. But, yeah, man, I got a lot. You see people outside that working outside in this weather. Kudos to them, man. Guys doing construction and, man. So
All the respect in the
a lot
world.
of hard work.
Sure.
But man, and I said to my friends, I when I was in New York during the holidays, and then we'll get to sports. But obviously, I'm older than you guys, and so all my friends are around my age. I had lunch with like some of my friends that I've known since high school, and we're all in our early to mid 50s, and they work in fine. Oh, most of them have pretty good jobs. One's a dentist, one's works in finance. One guy is the head lawyer for the NAACP, and then another guy works in finance, another guy works in insurance. So they all have good jobs, whatever. But they're all looking to retire. They're all like, I can't wait to be done. And it's not like they're making crappy money. They're making good money, but they're all like, and I'm like, they're like, how much? And one of my friends was like, how much longer are you gonna work for?
Ever.
I was like, I don't want to stop working.
What are you talking about?
I was just telling somebody the other day, I was like, if I don't come to work, like, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to be talking to my friends and I'm going to talk about sports. So I might as well come here and
Or
talk
watch
about
Exactly.
or
yeah,
watch
like
the
I'm going to
show.
watch. Yeah, like I was watching yesterday. I'm like, I can't get away from it, so I might as well.
That's right.
You know
Why
what I'm
not?
saying?
We're very lucky, as some people say. We work in the toy department of jobs.
Yes.
We're lucky. Listen, you got to work hard. You got to know your stuff,
Yeah.
and you got to be entertaining. Not anybody can do it.
That's
but,
true.
We're very lucky, and I'm very thankful to do this. And I'd love to do this with you guys till I drop dead. Honestly, I don't want to retire. I don't want to retire. So anyway, lots to get to today, Mike. Let's get to it because Tommy Rees, the Browns' new OC, just spoke, and the Browns announced who will be calling plays. So we'll start there first.
Yeah, let's get right into it, guys, after a quick word from Game Time. Live events are so much better than watching from your couch, and the Cavs have a chance at redemption on Saturday at home against the Houston Rockets. If you're using the Game Time app, and specifically the Game Time Picks feature, you will find the best deals on incredible seats without having to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And has the Game Time app up right now. And what is the Game Time Picks ticket of the day for the Rockets rematch on Saturday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?
Section 204, $60 each for your tickets.
Well, that's a steal. That's a great view from the corner there. Make sure you check out Game Time and use the Game Time Picks feature to get your deals because it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. It's easy too. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Boom. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the play caller situation for the Browns
Yeah.
and then pivot that into the rest of what Tommy Rees had to say this morning. But surprise to maybe nobody, Kevin Stefanski is calling plays next year. Right or wrong call?
Guys, here's what I love about this. Remember last year when they hired Ken Dorsey, and for months it was a mystery who was going to call the plays?
Yep.
It took forever. Kevin Stefanski hires the OC. You know, there's been, and the reason I kind of jumped on board back with Stefanski after losing faith in him, and again, we'll see if it pans out after this year, but is that I felt like he finally said, enough, we're doing it my way. If you don't like it, get out of my way. And this is another indication of that to me. Because they hired Tommy Rees, and this wasn't dragged out. First press conference after hiring Tommy Rees, I'll be calling the plays. Because he didn't want Tommy Rees getting 13 different questions about play calling. He said it even before Tommy Rees spoke. I like that, and I got zero problem with Stefanski calling the plays.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that was going to be the case. Like I said, this is the year of redemption for him. You know, this is the year that he takes everything back. Like, all right, listen, we tried it your way, it didn't work, so we're going to go back to my way. And if I'm going out, because if I'm on the hot seat, like people would like to say, then I'm going out with guns blazing. I'm going out calling my plays. I'm going out with my staff, with the guys that I want on here. I ain't listening to nobody else. And I respect him for doing that. I mean, I think the thing about him is, I keep telling everybody, I think he has a really good relationship with all the players. I mean, just from a mutual respect, everybody that I talk to have a good respect for him. He's not one of those guys that grill people in media. Anytime you ask him a question about a player, he would say, well, you know, anything that me and the player talk about, we keep private. Mm-hmm. So, like, he don't even put stuff out there. So I think for a player, you got to respect that. And I think they're going to respond to him. If they really care about him and have the respect for him, they know what's going on. They see what's happening in the media, what people are saying about him. So if they really care about him, they're going to make sure that he succeed this season.
That's it. This is what we've been asking for. You know, when you have a very limited time to get what you need done and you feel like there's a sense of urgency because of the way the season ended last year, now you can start to see people actually making the moves they should have been making all along. They should have always been decisive. He should have been decisive about what Ken Dorsey was talking about last year. He should have said, came out in front, and the Browns, for lack of better terms, have not been forceful enough in their messaging. Their messaging has been poor. It's been wishy-washy. Yes. And it doesn't do you any good to be vague, like, you know, like you're concealing something. There's no advantage. Like, they're still using the Bill Belichick 2002 playbook where everybody's on the injury report and we don't want to tell anybody anything because it gives us an unfair advantage and we don't want to give away what we're doing. No, sometimes you got to be clear about what you want to do because it gives direction to your players. It makes us understand that, listen, we are here to do a job and we're here to do it in a certain type way. And I'm the leader. I'm the guy in control. Now all I want him to do is, you've already made that very clear. Let's continue to make it clear with what you're talking about in terms of who you're going to draft and how you're going to take your picks. Yeah. Because now we can fall in line and say, okay, well, if you calling plays, now we understand what we need to be doing. Now let's get to the players and do the same thing and be concise and clear on what the future is and what positions you need to prioritize. So I like it. I thought we all knew that he was going to do it. But I like the fact that he just half-step and come around and just throw a bunch of fluff out there.
Well, he better make sure that he got the right quarterback. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
That's obviously the number one thing that a lot of people are thinking about. And we talk about, since he's been here, how many quarterbacks has he been that he wanted? Is Deshaun the only one?
Yeah, right. I mean, Baker was, in terms of starting quarterbacks or guys we thought would be a starting quarterback, it's only Deshaun. Because Baker was obviously here pre him.
See, so this is a really big year then. This is a really big. Yeah. They do got a really big decision to make here, and I'm very fascinated to see what direction they go. Even if they draft a quarterback, what veteran quarterback do they go proceed to get?
By the way, two quick things. One, I am big time. I'm going to be pushing for this.
Oh my!
I am big time on the especially if you draft a quarterback high. I'm on the big time Andy Dalton train for the Browns.
Really?
What?
Because go ask Bryce Young what he thinks of Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Tommy Rees's next quote was about the quarterback. Do you want to hear it?
So there was one other thing I wanted to hit real quick, and I forgot it, so let's go to the next
one. If it comes to you, Bo, we'll bring it back. But this is what Tommy Rees said in terms of looking at quarterbacks, what could be in play. Tommy Rees said, quote, I think you want to build an offense that has flexibility to cater to any quarterback's strengths. We want to be malleable in our ability to shape our offense that really highlights the strengths of that player.
Well, the fact that he used the word malleable tells you he's another nerd like Kevin Stefanski. Most football people don't use the word malleable.
That's what you took out of that.
Right. No, I do like what he had to say. I mean, that's true. You need to be able to adjust to the talents of your quarterback. Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what makes you a great play caller. Yeah. Every quarterback has different strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, you got to cater to that guy. You can't have, I don't know, Joe Flacco run the same playbook as Deshaun Jackson or Lamar Jackson. Like, that's two totally different guys. So I think that, depending on who's in there, you got to be able to have certain things. I don't know how, it's interesting to see how they're going to build it. I believe that they will try to have similar quarterbacks in the same room. Like, that's what they did last year. You got Deshaun, you had a DTR. You end up you get a Jameis. You get these guys that are big-time gunslingers that can get in there and make plays, like that. So I would imagine they would keep it about the same, right? You would think.
I mean, you try to have similar styles. Yeah. But again, going back to what I just brought up with Bryce Young and Andy Dalton, they were not similar styles.
Yeah, that's true too.
But they did have one thing in common, and I should have read these quotes back to back in my bad, but this next one was a follow-up to that. Steve, take it full. He was asked about what skill set he seeks in a quarterback, and Tommy Rees answered, quote, "I've always started with the ability to make decisions, make the right decisions," end quote, which plays right along with Stefanski's don't turn the ball over mantra.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part. I mean, Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to have a balanced offense. The Browns were not balanced last year. Now, to be fair, part of it was they really struggled to run the ball. But to also be fair, I think part of the reason they struggled to run the ball is because they went from an elite run game coordinator to a non-existent run game coordinator.
Yeah, or non-existent offensive line coach.
Yeah, right.
I think they're realizing that, though, they took for granted a little bit about what the running game was. And I think sometimes we believe that just because you're good at running the ball this year means that you're going to be great at running the ball next year. Offensive lines, to me, are like bullpens. Like, yes, you can have a great running attack one year, but you can also get hit around a lot. You can also get guys that get injured or running backs that are not, or lose skill sets, right? A lot of it is, you take a look at Nick Chubb. He's able to make guys miss, and he's able to do some things where you don't really notice guys aren't being blocked because he's so good at making the first guy miss and getting those yards after contact. So I think there is a more concise way that they're looking at it, and I think a big emphasis on what they're going to do is, hey, we need to run the football. We need to figure out a way to get back to what we did in 2020, and they saw firsthand what it looks like when you want to drop back and throw the ball 100 times and what the pitfalls of that. Turnovers are going to happen.
I think you can only succeed that way if your quarterback is elite. I mean, he's got to be not just good. And even then it's hard. That's why, part of the reason Joe Burrow gets sacked so many times is because they throw the ball a ton.
Yes.
And he likes it that way, and he wants to play that way, and he doesn't want extra tight ends blocking because he wants to have 5 options out there, and he's had, for the most part, success. But it's hard to play that way, and it's certainly you cannot win that way unless your quarterback is super special.
Well, listen, we talk about Josh Allen and how great Josh Allen is.
Yeah.
His run game was really good this year.
It was the best.
Exactly, and he ended up, now he's an MVP candidate.
Right. He wasn't as dynamic this year.
Yeah.
Certainly he was
he still used his legs. He still ran and did the things that he did. But, James Cook was somebody. Ray Davis came in there. Ty Johnson. Those guys came in there and provided a nice, healthy run game for him. I don't care how good the quarterback is. You need one. Kareem Hunt and Pacheco has actually been really good for Kansas City this year as well. Kareem,
they have
Mr. Three Wheels.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, Tyvus.
Kareem Hunt had a really good year for Kansas City.
Neither one's been explosive, and Pacheco was
hurt. Not this year, but last year.
No, he was last year.
They won a Super Bowl.
No. Last year, yes, I agree with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
But this year he hasn't been.
He got hurt. But they still had a run game. Kareem Hunt still was very solid.
He's
what did he finish the year with?
He's like Leroy Horde. 3. You need 1 yard to get you 3. You need 5 yards, he'll get you 3.
That's not. He proved that to be wrong.
Who?
Kareem did.
How many touchdowns did he have this year?
He had a lot of touchdowns.
But he had a lot of touchdowns last year. Did you think he was explosive for the Browns?
I think he is. I'm
not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's not explosive.
He averaged 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But still, it's still a run game.
Explosive.
Sure, better than what the Browns have.
That's my point.
Explosive is not really his game.
No,
that's not his game.
It's not Saquon Barkley.
Y'all gonna stop.
Yeah.
By the way, Saquon Barkley, I believe, needs, I want to say 150 yards, which he could get this week, and certainly will get if they go to the Super Bowl, to set the all-time record of rushing yards in a season, including the playoffs, which I think Terrell Davis holds that record, I believe.
He does, yeah.
Right? What's the number?
29.
I can find it, but I saw that stat on Twitter the other day.
No, it can't be that high.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. But anyway, and Barkley's had a magnificent season. But getting back to something you said, G, on the offensive line, you're right. Offensive lines, I agree. They're very much like a bullpen. And like a bullpen, the weak links can kill you.
Yeah.
When the Browns were in their, I'll call it the heyday of sucking, from like 2011 to 2018, whatever.
That's funny.
Right? When there were a lot of years where they would have a really good offensive line. That was like the only thing good about this team.
Right.
They had Joe Thomas, you had Mitchell Schwartz, you had Alex Mack.
Eric Steinbach.
And they would. I remember one year. I don't remember.
Greco.
Yeah, right. But there was one year. What?
Batonio was part of that.
Yeah, but I'm talking even before Batonio. There was a year where they had like 4 all like Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen, but their right tackle, I think it was maybe Tony Pashos or something.
Yeah.
And he was shot. And it was and if you watched him and you didn't know the team, you'd be like, oh, their offensive line sucks. Well, if one guy on your offensive line sucks, it could kill the whole line.
You're in trouble.
It could kill the whole line. Whereas, like, yes, if Myles Garrett had better teammates around him, he'd probably be even more productive, which is hard to believe. But Myles Garrett, because he's great, can still be great, even if the guys around him suck. Where, like, it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4 of your offensive linemen are really good. If the 5th guy sucks, it's going to kill you.
Are you insinuating that we need somebody on the offensive line?
Absolutely. I think they need multiple players.
Wait a minute. What position is you concerned about? Who on the offensive line?
Well, who's playing left tackle for them next year?
I would assume Dewan.
You're confident in that?
He looked decent in those 2 games.
He's been hurt, I believe, 3 times in 2 years.
First of all, Dewan is a Buckeye, so he's gonna get the job done.
I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm saying
wait a minute. Didn't he play 2 games at left tackle before he got hurt?
What were the last 3 words you just said, Tyvis?
Before he got hurt.
Before he got hurt, what?
I'm saying, how confident are you in
that
DeJuan Jones?
That he'll finish the season healthy?
Yeah.
82%.
Really? All right. Well,
the injuries is behind him.
Okay. I hope you're right.
At some point, it's always a phase in a career. You're either gonna get him early or you're gonna get him later.
Listen, he's dealing
with it now, so like now he'll be fine later.
Again, I know it became something on Twitter, and I never talked about his weight in any way to insult him. But as someone who is fat myself, I understand and I get it. He's much younger. He's a professional athlete. He has access to things I don't. But it's still, in the end, when you're somebody that's got a weight problem, and I don't know him personally, but most people that are as heavy as he is, or I am, we have an addiction to food. And it's hard. No matter you're a professional athlete, young or not, it's hard. Now, I don't know that for a fact with him, but I think knowing my life and knowing a lot of fat people, I think it's a safe assumption. And it doesn't mean he can't overcome. It means it's something he's got to overcome. I'm rooting for him. I'm not making fun of him in any way. I want him to succeed. I think he's very talented. I want him to be healthy just like I want myself to be healthy. But it's something that's a challenge for him because he's not a typical offensive lineman. He is huge.
I am confident. You know what? I said 82%. I'm going to bump that up to about 90%. And I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
One, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. One, because, like I said, he dealt with some injuries. I think he'll be fine once he comes back from those injuries. Two, I think he understands the magnitude of this season.
Sure.
How big this season is, not just for him, but for the team and everybody that's involved. And I think he's a pretty good team guy. And 3, left tackle for the Cleveland Browns, starting, finish all games, play productive, contract year coming up. You want to cash out.
Well, no, he's got 2 years left.
But still, you
Yeah.
start negotiations.
Okay.
Kind of
Fair enough. I just think the Browns.
And he don't got two.
Yeah, 4 years.
This would be 3.
Yeah.
You'll be negotiating
Right.
after this season.
I would say, listen,
After
at
this
the
upcoming
very
season.
least, there's got to be a quality plan B. At the very least.
See, what they should be doing right now, and I think this is big for everyone included. I think in general, if Joe Bitonio's coming back, if I think Wyatt Teller's coming back, I think all of them need to be in better shape. I think they're playing too heavy. I think Joe Bitonio's playing a little bit overweight, and it's not a knock against them. I just want them playing faster.
They said Bitonio was playing some of his best ball in the last few games.
It can be better. It can be better.
Who's saying that? He said it.
A
lot of people say that.
According to his family members, he's been balling. According to close friends and family, he's been doing his thing.
Yeah.
What I need him to do is I need him to get a little leaner, get a little quicker, and I want to start doing more of a pulling. We didn't see the pulling that we saw earlier in the year. We didn't see some of the outside zone stuff.
Yeah.
We need to get those guys on the perimeter, moving and getting to the next level to get some of these linebackers.
Yeah.
And I think that you can do that if DeJuan Jones and a lot of other people, and that includes the whole initiative for the offensive line, is to come in at better shape, come in leaner, and want to run the football. There needs to be a reestablishing of that identity, and I think it starts with the nutrition, and it starts with losing a little bit of that weight.
I think when you look at the potential starting offensive line, it could be good. I just think there's a question mark about all 5 guys on the line.
Wait, what is DeJuan's injury?
I don't remember his
I don't either. Is it an ankle?
It was an ankle, wasn't it?
So
I
he
don't know.
should be, in theory, he should be ready by the.
Wasn't Jed Wills' injury an ankle?
Jed Wills
No,
had
he had
He
it.
suffered
He
a
had-
fractured ankle.
Jed Wills
That's
had
like a 6-week thing, right?
Jed Wills had a whole lower body situation.
But think about it. Like, the rest of your offensive line is kind of old. Not old where they
That's why
necessarily
that.
can't be good, but they're old.
But that's why
and they've been
that,
injury
the
prone.
hiring of that offensive line coach was
Yeah.
probably outside, even more important than Tommy Rees, the hiring of Tommy Rees. I think that offensive line coach is by far the most important hire on the coaching staff this offseason because how we seen the – first of all, you got to get these guys because you changed the schemes, and now you're changing the scheme back. So now you got to get these guys to get back to what they once was.
Yeah.
But they're older now. And then you got to get them more physical. Then you got to whip up a guy that they took in the 3rd round because, as we know, Bitonio and Teller always deal with some injuries over the course of the season. And the last time we see Zach Zenter out there, he wasn't it.
Right.
So, and we can't not have him be productive.
Yeah.
So he
I mean,
has to play this year.
Bitonio's mostly played. I mean, he hasn't missed a lot of time. Did he miss any games?
No.
Last year, I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
He's had nagging injuries, but he plays
Yeah,
through
he
it.
plays through it.
Whereas, obviously, Teller,
Where my boy Luke Whipler
Conklin,
at?
these
Taylor
guys
played
have
he got hurt the first play of
Bitonio
the
played
game.
all 17
He
last
got hurt in the
last year.
Yeah,
preseason.
Bitonio, I'm not worried about injury-wise. The rest of the offensive line's had a lot of injuries.
Well, yeah.
all fair.
Because
Yeah.
Luke Whipler is a guy that should be.
He got injured for the whole year last year,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
Titus, you mentioned scheme. This is
Yeah,
the
we
last
got one
quote I
more
wanted to
clip
bring
here.
up from Tommy Rees. It has to do with scheme. He was asked whether or not it is safe to assume the Browns offense will go back to its pre-2024 scheme. And Rees said, quote, "I think there are core principles within that system that we want to major in and own. But like anything, you're going to have to adapt to the times, and we're going to evaluate what this team is really good at and make sure that we focus the offense around that." He went on to say that depending on the caliber of players and where their most talent is, they want to adapt their system to fit the players. So from
Yeah,
a schematic
sure.
standpoint, guys, not sure if you guys felt they were doing that in the past, if that'll be a change, or that is just the right philosophy to have when you're building a team and a staff.
I think you always got to adjust to some
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah,
right?
you
But
always do.
I do think the core principles that they want a quarterback that's comfortable playing under center. They want to run play action.
It was, like I said, this year it was too far left. Like, they got to find that. The Browns are best when you got a happy medium. If you go all the way to, like, we're going to commit to being a pass team, like, that's not going to work. Obviously, you've seen it now. It brought some highlights. It was some times where we was like, man, this looked good with Jameis in there. But it wasn't sustainable to where – and then you don't want to watch your team just run the ball and have no passing attack because that's not sustainable in today's NFL either, especially when you paid a guy like Jerry Jeudy and you got paid Njoku. You got to feed those guys too. So you got to take the ball out of the quarterback hands sometimes. If this team works best when it's about 24 passes and 26 runs, something like that. Because that's what Kevin is. He wants to be a balanced offense. And they got to get back to that. This year they had no run game at all, which forced us to throw the ball 40, 50 times. But then you get mad when you throw 2 picks. Like, you throw the ball 50 times in the NFL, at some point somebody going to throw some bad balls.
You know what this all comes down to in the end? That Andrew Berry has to hit a home run in this draft. I forget a home run, a grand slam. He's got to nail it because they need to find a young, explosive back. And by the way, running back is a position more than any other, which is deep.
Deep classes.
And every year, there are good backs that come up in the 3rd round, the 4th round, the 5th round.
Travion Henderson, go Bucks.
And the Browns have to hit
pickup, dude. How many
because they need a young, explosive back on this roster. Jerome Ford is fine as a second back, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't want him to be my lead guy.
He's a 3rd down back to me. He's a guy that you bring in and you want him to run some draws, some outside zone stuff too, maybe hit him on a screenplay. But
he's not a 16-carry guy back.
No, he's not a bell cow.
How many picks in the 3rd round do we got?
2.
2 in the 3rd.
Yeah.
They need to come on.
They go out the hill.
And this is why I say I get mad. Like I listen, we were going to talk about him, but there's only a couple of people I don't want to hear about. Don't tell me about a tackle. Like
what you talking about?
I'm not drafting no tackle
in the 1st round.
In the 1st round, period. Point blank. Second of all, we're not drafting no D tackles. Stop trying to get deep.
Hey,
I'm with you on that.
If it's Mason Graham, I am not going to say nothing.
Draft.
If they take Mason Graham, I ain't going to say too much.
Absolutely not.
Man, him, Mike Hall, and Miles Garrett, you crazy.
Let me give you one.
4 wins.
Yeah, listen, 4 wins at tops.
Y'all sick.
Given the fact that we listen up front. When you talk about defensive linemen, here's one thing about D linemen that happens. They get hurt all the time. Mike Hall, we 2nd round pick.
Hey.
He was suspended first.
Easy.
Then he got injured 2nd. Siaki Ika, 3rd round pick, never touched the field.
Yeah.
Perrion Winfrey got in trouble. That's another 4th round pick. You can't keep coming drafting defensive tackles every year and being like, oh, we got D tackles. So do the Eagles. But what you don't have is receivers, running backs, and people that put points on the board.
In a perfect world, to me, you drafted a quarterback in the 1st round, a wide receiver in the 2nd round, a running back, and maybe a corner in the 3rd round.
That's what I'm talking about,
There you
Bull.
go. That's it. That's what I want. It may not
That's
work
what
out
I'm
that way,
talking
but
about.
that's a
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Mayo going to hit on 2 of those in 1 pick with the number 2 pick with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
You never know. All right, guys, we're going to get back to the Browns in a little bit, but we got to talk about the Cavs game last night. Our Cavs conversation today is brought to us by Rocket Money. Have you ever used Rocket Money? If not, I highly suggest it. It helps you find apps you forgot you were paying for, or maybe even paying for twice. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That is rocketmoney.com/lockedon today.
Rocket Money is, I've used it. Rocket Money is blowing up.
Yeah,
I used it before too.
Every break in games is Rocket Money.
it's taken over,
Love
and
it.
it is very helpful, legitimately.
It is.
Bless you.
You know how many subscriptions I got?
Oh my God, millions, right?
I got everything.
We will get to the overall game in a sec, but I want to start with Darius Garland last night, missing 2 free throws in the clutch that could have given the Cavs the lead. Afterwards, and I'm looking at Tyvis as
Doing
the
the
number 1
choke
Darius
job,
Garland supporter
Go ahead, Tyvis.
in Cleveland media. The discourse afterwards was Darius ain't clutch. Tyvis, your response to that?
He joked. I mean, listen. Every good athlete has a moment where they don't come clutch all the time. I mean, listen, LeBron James. I watched LeBron smoke a free throw for a game before. Like, it is what it is. It doesn't make him not a good player or anything. It's just one bad moment that he had. This dude shoots close to 90%, and the ball just didn't fall for him. I'm not going to say that Darius Garland is no better or no worse than what I've already thought of him. I just thought he just choked in a situation with the game on the line. I don't think that this will happen again. He's the professional guy that I think he is. That man is shooting 1,000 free throws probably in the gym right now to make sure that this don't happen again. But yeah, it was a moment where the guy came up short and he missed.
I knew
Simple as that. He choked.
I knew he was gonna miss it.
No, you didn't.
No, listen.
And me and Bull was live texting at this time. Me and Bull
This
was
is
live texting.
real story. So I was watching the game live, and when he got fouled, and I knew he had 3 shots, I turned the game off. I couldn't watch it. I turned the game. Completely logged out of the app.
Wait
chilling.
a minute. You didn't have faith.
No.
Wow.
I just knew it.
The same guy who they came here, gave him his flowers.
I gave him his flowers.
Said he was him. But now when it's time in the crunch.
Timothy.
You were.
Now it's in the crunch. You know, that's
G and I were having a debate yesterday, and you were defending Darius.
I said, listen, here's the difference between why, like, I don't believe the Rockets is nice and why the Cavs going to win this basketball game. Now, here's the thing. I knew.
This is sad.
Here's how I knew.
That's why he missed him. Because you didn't believe.
Here's how I knew he missed him. Because I'm in the same chat y'all in, and it was going crazy.
It was funny because
I was like, dang.
I'm sitting there like, I text Bull. I said, he better make all 3 of them. I said, oh my God, he missed the first one. Bull hit right back. His TV quicker than mine. He missed the second one. I threw the phone in the air. Oh my God.
And I'm over here at my crib looking around like, I know he done missed all these free throws because they going crazy in the chat right now. And I'm like, man, and you know what's wild is they gave the game, like, the Rockets gave the game, handed it to him.
Well, I mean, I give the Cavs credit, and they played great in the fourth quarter until the end. But here's the thing, too. Not only did the Rockets have this big lead, do you want us to not transition to that yet?
I want your thoughts on Darius.
Let me. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right. So in terms of Darius, like, I think on the first free throw, he got an unlucky bounce.
No, I actually think 2 of them was unlucky.
And then I thought on the second one, as you just did, he gave.
Look at it.
In and out.
The second one was like ridiculous.
This is the first one. That's just an unlucky
The second
roll
one
of the
was
wrist.
just like that.
The second one, he got tight. I really felt like he got tight.
See.
It was a little short.
Same thing.
No, that was the first one. The distance was right.
Yeah.
Bad part of the rim. Second one,
He
tad bit short.
He had a look on his face after he missed the first one. He kind of had like this smile, like, I can't believe I just did that. Like a, oh my God smile. And I thought he got tight for the second. Now, I'll give him a little bit of credit that he did bounce back and knock down the third. And he knew that they were getting the ball back. And unfortunately, they couldn't knock down a bad. I mean, you're down 1. I'm sorry, 2. You have 3 free throws and the ball. I know they didn't have a ton of time. What was it, like 2.5 seconds? 2.7. But that's enough to get at least 1 shot, maybe even 2 if you get it up quick.
You get 1 shot, but you're getting a legit shot. It's not just a catch.
So you have 3 free throws and a shot.
That's crazy.
To score just at least 2, and they couldn't get it. So, yeah, that was a – listen, to turn this into a Darius is not clutch is unfair. This year, he's been extremely clutch. You've given us the numbers.
Can I give you the
before.
updated numbers after last night?
Fine, go ahead.
So these are the numbers, including the free throw misses last night for Darius Garland in the clutch. He has a plus 64 plus minus. That is number 1 in the NBA by 11 points.
Yeah.
Not even close between number 2. He has 58 total points. That is the 9th most, but everyone plays different amount of games, so it's not exactly apples to apples. He is 20 of 31 on field goals for a 64.5% field goal percentage in the clutch among all NBA players that qualify. So at least 10 clutch games, 1 field goal attempt in the clutch per game. He is number 2. The only one higher is Walker Kessler, who only dunks the ball. So he's number 1 among people who actually take legit shots.
Walker Kessler leading the league in field goal percentage.
In the clutch for players with at least 10 games and average 1.
No, but he's also leading the league in field goal percentage, period.
He might be, yeah.
No, he is.
He is. Okay, I'll take your word on that. He's 5 of 9 from 3, 9th in the NBA. He has 10 assists to 2 turnovers. That is the second best assist-turnover ratio in the NBA. Jamal Murray has 13 assists, 1 turnover, which is an absurd ratio. Jeez. And he is 13 of 15 from the line.
The 2
in
misses
the clutch.
yesterday.
The 2 misses were
now,
yesterday.
What the people, and I'm not one of these people, but I'm sure the people that are saying that Darius is not clutch would talk about the playoffs in the past where he hasn't been great, which is fair. This is a new year. He seems like a new player. Even though G and I were debating, I don't remember the exact wording we were debating yesterday about, like, is he a proven player or whatever.
Yeah.
But even I would agree, and I was arguing against him in this, that I think right now, including last night, where obviously he had a bad ending, I think Darius is playing his best basketball, even better than the year he was an all-star. As an overall player, I think he's playing better. And it doesn't have to be a bigger thing.
No.
It doesn't have to mean this is going to happen
He's
again.
got to make those free
But for
throws,
one night,
but he's been good.
He blew it.
Yeah, and
he blew it.
He has to make those free throws.
Yes.
Like, no argument. I want to play a 35-second soundbite from Donovan in the locker room last night. He was asked, what do you say to Darius after something like that? And I thought his answer was pretty cool. It's a recording off the screen, so it's not the loudest, so just be prepared. I'll tell you what he said after if you can't hear it. But this is Donovan in the locker room after last night's loss to Houston.
Do you say anything to DG after this one?
I'd rather it now than in June. That's how I tell him, do it now. Why not? Let all the mistakes happen now and we're fine. Like he's fine. He's gonna, be hard on himself as we all would be. That's why he's so great in what he does. But I told him, look, at the end of the day, we wouldn't have been able to get to those free throws if you didn't do what you did. So he's been great all year, great in the fourth all year. Happens to everybody. We all miss shots. I could be better for him. There's so many different things you can point to outside the free throws. But the biggest thing is keep the mood light because man, he's been great. We've been doing a lot of positives, and this is one of those things where the ball just didn't go in today. It happens.
All I heard from him was George Hill should have made them free throws, and J.R. Smith wouldn't have been looking the way he looked.
That's a pull.
That's what I heard.
All right.
Just saying.
That's what you heard Donovan say.
Yep.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. I'm not gonna lie.
Leadership.
Didn't hear that. That wasn't what I heard. But
when he said that I could be better and I could have done things better, it made me think if George Hill just made that free throw, JR wouldn't have been running around.
Yeah, and that I forgot that he did miss those free throws.
I know you did. Everybody did.
And I didn't forget Donovan Mitchell got ripped.
Well, you ready to talk about the rest of the game?
Yeah.
Let's get to the rest of the game.
Yeah, he got ripped in the crunch
wildest
time.
endings I can remember from
That was
the
crazy.
no call on. I'll give you all the things and then we can talk about
the
it.
Jared
but I was
Allen
just saying,
thing was ridiculous.
They played pretty poorly in the second and third quarter. And they were down, before they started that, they were down, 15, 16? I can't remember what they were down.
I think 13, but there was double digits.
But they went on a
come comeback.
16-0 run.
Led by Ty Jerome.
They were up by 6. And I don't know about you guys, I thought it was done. When they went up by 6, I thought it was
done. Van Vliet.
And then Van Vliet knocks down 2 threes.
He hit a 30-footer.
The Houston Rockets was going to win that game. Before it even tipped off, I knew it.
Van Vliet hit that
They
jumper.
scrappy, man. They just
But when the
scrappy.
Cavs were up by 6, you didn't think they would have win?
I thought
I
they was
thought
going
the
to win.
Cavs was going. I mean, I thought the Rockets was going to win that game.
I thought that. See, and this is why I'm actually not mad about it. The Rockets are, they're a scrappy team. They're young, but they did what young teams do. They should have put the Cavs away when they had a chance. They was up 13. The Cavs was losing the entire game. And I knew this is what happens. This is what happens when you have young teams. Young teams sometimes don't have that killer instinct to put people away. They didn't put the Cavs away. They let them stay in the game. And when you got a team that got shot makers that can hit tough shots and is playing like the Cavs that are a veteran squad that play together a long time, you're going to let them back in the game. They got up 6. And I think it was powerful because Ty Jerome came back in. And Ty Jerome does what he does. He gets steals. He created the energy. And then they go up 6. And I'm sitting here to myself saying like, all right, listen, Van Vliet had killed you all night. He was the only guy that was really knocking down open shots. I'm like, please don't let the ball get to Van Vliet. It was a scramble. He hits 2 threes that ties it back up. But
that guy's never been a shot he's afraid to take.
And I did not know Sangoon and the Wagners was cousins.
Yeah.
They are cousins.
How is that? I don't understand. Like, I like physical play, and Mike said, when I said, how is that not a foul, Mike was like, well, you guys are always complaining it's not physical enough, and that's fine. But I didn't know you could just shove a guy on the ground.
This was so the end of the game between the Şengün foul, then the flagrant that they ended up calling on Houston, the strip, the miss, the free throws, just a wild ending. If you missed it, here's the foul. Steve, you take it full.
Yeah.
You see it live. You'll see it again in slow motion in a sec. In no world is this not a flagrant or a technical.
It's
I have no
crazy.
explanation.
They
I
went
don't
and looked at
understand.
the replay.
I couldn't believe it.
I actually don't like the rule that leads to a technical foul in the Darius play. I don't like that rule, but I understand that
It's a player safety thing more than
No,
anything
I know.
else.
I don't like it.
But this, and you're going to see the
how is this
replay.
not a...
I have no explanation. It is unfathomable to me how this play, nice, maybe an and-one plays through it, but that is not a basketball. There's nothing about that that's a basketball play. I don't understand it.
Was it ever explained after the game?
No.
Did they do that 2-minute report or whatever?
I didn't see it yet. Maybe it'll come out later.
We need to get some clarification. I don't understand. And they didn't even, on the broadcast, well, it was not a national broadcast, and they were apoplectic, our announcers, about it.
I don't like that. I don't like that this happened like this. Because, see, just when you think that the Cavs turned the corner, like something like this happened, and then it brings up things about.
Oh yeah, they got manhandled.
That bothers me.
They got manhandled. That was a concern. That was my biggest concern.
And that was my question to you guys yesterday, and I want to ask it again today. This was kind of a test. Houston's built in the same ilk as the OKCs, the Indianas. They can make it physical. They have the long, athletic wings. And last night, we saw what had happened in the past, which was Houston out-physicaled and out-athleted Cleveland.
That's a dirty play, though.
That's definitely
a dirty play.
That is a dirty play.
That's a dirty
but there
play.
were a lot of other plays where, we all like Dean Wade. He was getting his ass kicked physically.
Well,
they were pushing him around.
Here's what Kenny,
on every play.
Why you gotta bring Dean into this?
Here's what they're gonna have to do.
Go ahead.
They're gonna have to have a discussion about who's gonna be the honorary goon. Yeah. Tristan Thompson got 6 fouls to give. And we got fine money for Tristan.
Yeah.
If he get fined, he get kicked out of a game. Listen, we got money for him. But you're gonna need to have some sort of enforcer.
Got a baby by the Kardashians.
Team like that.
Because you might have to backhand a couple people and let them know what type of time we on.
And we got a Morris brother. Is there a Morris brother available?
Is there a Morris anywhere?
Yeah.
Does Ron Artest have anything left in the tank?
We don't have that type of guy on our roster.
Tristan is the closest, Niang second, but this brings up a bigger question. We've talked about the wing at length.
Yeah.
With Mobley out, they don't have a legitimate back. Tristan Thompson's their only legitimate backup big, and I'll be honest, I like Tristan, nice guy.
Play.
I don't think he could be in a playoff rotation.
He got to be on that stuff again.
Mike, was it I'll say what I put in our chat group. I said, or maybe, I don't remember if it was in the chat group or what. I said, Dean Wade's got to get his pasty white ass into the gym. I mean, he needs to get stronger.
Well, he's not a center, and trying to guard Şengün is a nightmare for. I mean, Şengün outbodied Jared Allen yesterday.
They got some huge.
I didn't even know they had Adams.
G, hold on. Did I not try to tell y'all this yesterday?
Okay, I was
trying to tell y'all.
G was the one.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you.
I wish I would have been here because I would have told you. I'm taking
that other dude. What's his name?
Thompson is a monster.
And then they still got
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams, who looks like the bad guy in an action movie.
Hey, listen.
He's Aquaman.
Hey, let me.
Jason
yeah, he
Momoa.
is Aquaman, low key. Let me tell you why I don't give no credit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm still not even tripping on these dudes.
They got a coach that's a really good coach.
Hey man, listen.
You do some tricky stuff off the court, but
I mean, real tricky. He real tricky.
Yeah, man, knee alone, man.
We don't got to get. Listen,
that's wild. That's nasty work.
Even their coach looks scary.
He looked like
I was
about to say he definitely called LeBron.
He tried to fight LeBron this year.
Here's why this don't move me, because here's what I'm gonna say. I mean, if Mobley's playing in this game, like, you don't have Mobley, you don't got a Coro. You don't got. Hold on. What's the name playing this game? What's his name? Karis LeVert.
Yeah, but wait a second.
Hold on, but
I hear you. But we didn't want to hear when the Cavs beat the Thunder. We didn't want to hear the excuses about
I ain't hear no. I say you can only play who's out there.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna give them no pass about losing the game. They beat them. Who was playing? What I'm saying is,
my thing.
Am I spooked for the future?
Yes.
No,
I am.
I'm not.
I think the Rockets probably don't get to the finals anyway. So.
No, they're not. But that's not the point.
You probably don't have to play them.
My issue with the whole thing is that they put on tape how you can be successful against the Cavs.
But I don't think there's a lot of teams.
There's
that
only
have
a
the
handful
physicality
of teams
that they
like
do.
that.
True.
Listen,
but it's out there.
Okay, they can money the game.
No, you would say that the playoffs is different. It's more of a physical.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, let's put that out there.
They can money the game up, but at the same point in time, they beat the Cavs, and the Cavs didn't even play well. and they beat them by 1 point.
2.
Donovan Mitchell had 19 points. Like, they didn't play well, and
Donovan
they missed they missed 2 free throws. 90% free throw shooter on the line. It's not like these dudes came out here and gave us what OKC
All
did.
right, check this. Let me. This has nothing to do with that, but it does have something to do with that. If that's the case, then Ohio State losing to the Wolverines shouldn't do anything to you because they missed 2 field goals.
What you mean?
When we lost to the Wolverines this year, we missed 2 field goals. So technically, we should have won 16-13 as bad as they played.
I mean, but you didn't make it though.
That's my point exactly about Darius last night.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
like, no,
so you talking about you ain't concerned.
I'm not concerned. You can win. You can lose a game to somebody in the short term, but in the long term, not be pressed.
My concern
that
my only concern out of this is not that they can't beat the Rockets. It's that there's a little bit of a concern if a team, and I think it's always been there because it was an issue last year, that if there's a team that's very physical with them,
the Knicks,
it's still something they're going to have to overcome. Now, you're probably right because Mobley's been way more physical this year than he has in the past. But as much as I love Jared Allen, and he scored well yesterday, he was getting manhandled.
I mean, here's the thing, too. I mean, if the refs are going to let you play dirty,
well, the rest of it wasn't dirty. That play was dirty.
I mean, that's a huge play.
It
right?
was.
And hold on, did you see the elbow he threw on somebody's ribs on the post play?
Who?
A couple of
Şengün
yeah.
uses elbows. He got called for hooking once.
He hit him.
I was surprised. It was a good call. I was surprised they got that call.
Yeah, and they didn't call the other one when he definitely threw more of a bow. But he plays physical. When you play physical and push the limits, you're going to get away with some stuff.
They're not going to call it every time.
Yeah, so look, that's his game.
It concerns me. That's all I'm telling y'all.
Let me ask you guys this.
Rockets are a fun team to root for, though. If you're a Rockets fan, you love watching them play because they play a little nasty.
And they have a bunch of chips. If they want to cash in, they got a ton of picks and young guys to trade. But the one thing I want to ask before we move on to Paul Sewald here, Bull, NG, and Titus, and whoever wants to start, go ahead. Down the stretch when the Cavs got that lead, they were up 6. The end-of-game offensive execution was not good. And I put a montage together of the last 3 minutes of offensive possessions. I'll just let it play as you guys talk. But what do you guys think of their execution down the stretch when it mattered most?
It was bad, guys.
Too much pick and roll.
That right there, it turned into what we seen, the Donovan show, and I didn't like that part for that step back at the end.
Yeah,
like it's no action no more. Usually you got people setting off ball picks and
his
things.
A lot of ball movement.
Yeah,
it was nothing.
It turned into a one-on-one. And don't get me wrong, I get it because you want your best player to have the ball at the end, and obviously they get paid a lot of money to be able to create and make their own shots. But what makes the Cavs so special is that they are a great team. Like it's team basketball. Right. So even in that situation, yes, you want your best player taking the shot, but still swing the ball around and run some motions and stuff. Not on that because you only had 2 seconds left. Right. But all the other ones, like run some plays and stuff. And if your guy gets open, cool. If not, you should have faith. That's what this whole season been about for Donovan, having faith and trusting all the other guys to make big plays in big moments. Take the chance, opportunity to let that keep going, keep building upon that. Run the offense, swing the ball around, and let it find the open guy's hands. And you can live with it. If God misses a wide open shot, you can live with that.
That's right.
But it was the right play.
It feels like without Mobley, there's been a little less ball movement overall. And you look at that montage that Mike just played, it felt like every shot was a little forced. And as you said, what's been so good for the Cavs this year is they have moved the ball to get the best shot possible. Yeah. And they did none of that at the end of this game.
And for Donovan to do that, knowing that he's having the game that he's having, like, dude, you was 7 for 21. Like,
yeah, and Darius there is taking it in against 3 big guys. Like, he's not going to score there.
So what happens here is when you don't have Mobley, there's a little less balance on the court, and it doesn't give you as much spacing. So when you are guarding Jared Allen, Mike, I'm not scared about Jared Allen. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to guard him. I don't have to be super attentive when it comes to help side. So you now also have 2 smaller guards that are trying to create. Yeah. And when you have Thompson and some of those other guards, it's hard to get your shot off against those athletic guys. They're just as athletic as you, but they're making you shoot over contested length.
Yeah.
So you can see what Mobley means to him. I would have liked to see them maybe do something where you maybe put one of the guards and the guards pick and roll for each other or something like that, because I think the contested shots at the end, it was just those are just tough looks, and the chances you hitting that is slim to none. So I like more offense. But the two things that you can also go back and say that we have to look at and you would probably want back is the loose balls and the turnovers. You saw in that montage, Donovan Mitchell got stripped. Darius Garland got stripped on a play. You didn't get any shots up on those plays, so the turnovers hurt you, including the missed free throws.
Yeah.
So to be truthful, the Cavs had every opportunity to win this game. They basically handed it to them, and they just didn't do what they were supposed to.
Mike, can I see that play, even if it's part of the whole montage? That play where Darius took it to the basket again, what looked like three guys.
Yeah, Steve, take 284. It's the second play.
I just was there somebody, guys just, the Cavs have been so good at moving without the ball, and it just felt like there was none of that. It was just a lot of standing around watching. And I wonder on that play, because Darius, goes up against three guys, essentially, three way bigger guys on this play.
This is the first one from Donovan with the game tied, step back over Thompson.
Right.
Tough look.
Nobody's
the next
really
one
open.
is Darius.
But there was just a lot of standing around. Again, okay, there's Jared Allen moving a little bit. Everybody else is standing around.
No, it's basically an ISO.
But his chances, I know he's good at going to the basket, but there's three big guys there. It's going to be very hard for him to score in that situation.
And not just bigs, but
I meant to ask you this question.
Too.
I meant to ask you this question, McNuggets.
Shoot.
In basketball, because I know this used to happen. This happens sometimes when I used to play, and we will ask you because obviously you played at a bigger level. When you're playing a game and you're on the road, and you've kind of, been outplayed a little bit, and you've clawed yourself back in the game, and then you get in a position where you can win the game. Does it seem like sometimes instead of the hard thing is to continue to keep cutting, continue to run offense. Sometimes it seems like at the end of the game, people take the easy way out. A step back jumper is something that is easy to get off, but at the same time, it's a very difficult shot to make. So sometimes you almost take the easy way out. It's almost like being like, hey, in football, we're going to go for two in regulation to win the game. We ain't going to overtime on this one. We ain't even supposed to be in this game anyway, so we're going to go for two. Do you think sometimes people take the easy way out by just doing ISOs and taking tough contested shots at the end of the game instead of running offense?
I think at the end of games and in the playoffs more than anything else, because the regular season is not the playoffs, two different brands of basketball, but those kind of closing minutes are as close to emulating playoff basketball as you can get. It's about hunting matchups. And I thought the shot that Donovan took with 5 seconds left, the miss with Thompson on him.
The step back.
They came up to set a screen, and he kind of waved off the screen saying, I want to go one-on-one. I would have tried to come off the screen, force Houston into some kind of switch to get a little better advantage because Thompson, the guy, you could take it against Steve, but Thompson, the guy guarding him, is 6'8" and just a stupid athlete. Stupid
Look,
athletic.
he's covered. He locking him up.
It's a really difficult shot. It's great defense there by Thompson. On this next one with Darius, I don't know if they ran something again. I can't see what the shot clock says here, so I'm not sure exactly how late in the shot clock this was. But Darius on Jalen Green is probably your best matchup, individually speaking, in that situation, as opposed to having Donovan attack Thompson again. You have Dylan Brooks on Dean Wade. I don't think Fred VanVleet was in on that possession, so that was your best matchup. I don't mind Darius trying to exploit a matchup.
Pop that bad boy.
I'm not saying I love the shot. I'm just saying the matchup. I don't mind Darius saying, this is my best matchup. Let me try to get a good look. But all in all, not good enough offensive execution down the stretch from the Cavs.
Unfortunate.
No
They
excuses.
played so great to come back and take that lead.
Crazy loss.
The crazy thing is, at the end of the day, Darius make them 2 free throws.
They win the game.
We talking a whole different
Hopefully.
story.
You never know, yeah. How old is Fred VanVleet, by the way? Feels like he's been around forever.
He is. He's the most expensive player and the oldest player on the Rockets. How old do you think he is?
31. No.
35.
33.
No. He was a 4-year player.
33.
So in college. So I'm going to say he played with the Raptors. I'm going to go with he's 32 and a half.
He turns 31 next month.
Wow.
Really? Exactly what day? You know?
February 25th is his birthday.
Oh, I'm older.
By the way,
I'm older than him. Yes.
When I was a kid, I was a huge St. John's basketball fan. They were my team. I watched religiously as much as I could. Like, games weren't on TV like they are now when I was a kid. But anytime I could watch them play, I would. But they were great in from the late 70s really to the early 2000s. They were really good. Never won a national championship, but obviously that's hard in college.
Yeah.
Wasn't Duke great, but they were always, they made a lot of deep runs in the 80s. They had Chris Mullin and Walter Berry and Mark Jackson and Bill Weddington and Ron Artest and Malik Sealy.
Yeah, Malik
Rest
Sealy,
in peace.
R.I.P.
By the way, I met Malik Sealy. Have I ever told you this story? Couldn't have been a nice guy. You know Malik Sealy?
He died.
Have you heard? You never heard of him? He was was playing for Minnesota. I
Played
think,
for the Timberwolves.
NBA.
Died.
He was a great player at St. John's, and he was nice, good, solid NBA player. Not like a special, not a superstar or anything, but a good, solid player. Anyway, one time I'm at the airport. I was picking up my cousin at the airport in New Jersey, and he's from New York. And I looked to my right, see this 6'7" guy standing next to me, and I do a double take, and I went, "You're Malik Sealy." That's what I said to him. And he goes, "Hi, how you doing?" He was by himself, no entourage, and he was in the NBA at this point. We sat and chatted for like 10 minutes. He couldn't have been nicer. Such a good guy.
Man.
And this was pre me being in the business.
I love. See, I used to be
Now you see
into
Big Z all the time.
Big East
It
basketball.
was the best.
So I used to watch those on ESPN like it was religion. Like, so Seton Hall, Terry DeHare and them,
Georgetown with John Thompson.
Georgetown, Providence, St. John's, Syracuse, Villanova.
Yeah. That was
I mean,
brutal. The only reason I brought it up is because
That's
they have a good team for the first time in like forever this year. So I watched. They were started an hour before the Cavs last night, so I watched the first half, and then when the Cavs went to halftime, I watched the rest of the game, and then it went into overtime, so I missed the first couple of minutes of the second half of the Cavs game. But it was a great game. UConn also with Jim Calhoun. But St. John's had been, and they were down 16 to Xavier with like 10 minutes to go in the game, which in college basketball, it's a huge deficit.
Yeah, it is.
And they came back and won in overtime. So I know nobody cares, but I was excited.
No, it was a crazy game.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little baseball here, Bull, and our baseball conversation today brought to us by Game Time. If you want to check out a Guardians game this upcoming season, Game Time is the app you need to be using to get your tickets online. And you better be using the Game Time Picks feature, which filters out fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time. By the way, speaking of the Game Time app, I went on the Game Time app. Yes, I started to go on the Game Time app yesterday. I was actually going to look at tickets. The Cubs are opening the season in Japan with 2 games against the Dodgers.
Stop playing.
And I was like, maybe I'll go take the family to Japan. We'll go see the Cubs play the Dodgers. And my wife's like, "Are you crazy? We're not going to Japan in March. That's a trip you got to plan for a while."
Yeah,
so then I left the app, but I was going to go look for tickets for that game on the
Game Time.
You done made too many comments. They'll stop you at the border, bro.
Where the Browns playing at this year?
I'm pro Japan.
London.
What do you mean?
No, I'm talking about when you were on your way back.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to do a UCSS show from London.
Nah, I'm cool. Right where I'm at, I ain't going nowhere.
If I had to
Are you allowed?
I ain't going nowhere outside the country. I'm right here.
If I had to move to another country, Japan would be on my top 5 list of countries.
We can do it for overtime. Give us your top 5 countries you want to
fine.
live in. But Paul,
yeah.
Paul Sewald is officially a member of the Cleveland Guardians. He signed yesterday on a 1-year deal worth $7 million with some incentives.
Well, there's an option for a second year.
Option for a second year. Give us the breakdown on Paul Sewald. Paul Sewald, excuse me. Is it Sewald or Sewald?
Sewald.
Oh,
His
Sewald.
name sound like he had the first patent on a Ford motor car.
Could be.
Paul Sewald.
Give us the breakdown, and you mentioned something on the top of the show that I'm very interested in.
It better have nothing to do with Class A. But
so there's 2 things here. Number one, let's talk about Paul Sewald and the signing. First of all, my first reaction was, oh, this is odd. They're not going to spend a ton of money the rest of this offseason. I'm a little surprised they spent it on a relief pitcher. So I thought that was odd. Now, I will say that at $7 million, this is excellent value to me. I like Paul Sewald a lot. He's a veteran pitcher. That's the one thing they really don't have in their bullpen. I know their bullpen was great.
Where is he at last year?
He was in Arizona last year.
Okay.
He first came up with, I can't remember who he first came up with, but then he spent most of his earlier career with Seattle and was very good there. He's a closer. Mm-hmm. And then in 2023, he got traded in the middle of the season to Arizona and played in the World Series against the Rangers. He got off to a great start last year. He's been a really good reliever. He got off to a great start last year. By the middle of the season, I think he had an ERA around 1.5. Now, he struggled the second half of last season. He dealt with a little bit of an injury. His mechanics were off. I'm sure the Guardians will fix that. But this guy, outside of the second half of last year, has been consistently a good pitcher. He's been a closer. I think my initial thought was, okay, if something happened with Clase, he got hurt or whatever, this way they could keep Gaddis and Cade Smith in their 7th, 8th inning roles, and you have your veteran here, let him close because he's has experience closing games. Plus, he's pitching the World Series. He has a relationship with Stephen Vogt. He played in Seattle for a number of years, as I mentioned, and Stephen Vogt, before coming to the Guardians, was I believe the bullpen coach, I think,
Correct.
in Seattle. And so, obviously, he and Sewald has an excellent reputation within the game of being like one of these elite teammates. And so I think having a veteran in the Guardians bullpen is a good thing. Now, you might say, well, come on, they need to strengthen a weakness in the lineup. True, I agree. And the bullpen was already a strength. Mr. Operation Stockpile here should appreciate the fact that, hey, even if you have a strength, make it stronger.
I love it.
So, on its own, even though I thought it was odd that that's where they spent money, I like this move. I think he'll be very good for them this year. Okay. It's never a guarantee, especially with a relief pitcher, but my guess is he'll be very good for them in the pen.
Anytime they go get a veteran pitcher, I mean,
yeah.
We seen Boyd, we seen
Cobb.
Yeah. All these guys come in last year and have these unbelievable seasons with the Guardians. I think when you see them get a veteran pitcher, it gives me good feelings that guy will turn into something that we will appreciate.
Man, listen, man, it sucks because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what if you keep Jimenez? What if you kept Naylor and you added a person like this? We'd be ecstatic.
Yeah,
because I would be ecstatic because I still got my home run capabilities. I still got an elite fielder, and you can always hope and squint and be like, maybe Jimenez bats a little better this year.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't a terrible hitter.
Oh, really?
And
he wasn't Austin Hedges or Miles Straw bad.
And if they did that, you could have sold us on. And we got Manzardo. Yeah, Manzardo is going to play a lot more this year. You like, man? Listen, I like that. You could sell me on that. But if it's just a pitcher, I'm like, all right. Well, now we got a great bullpen. We better get one. Sticks. We better get 2 runs.
Okay. So now let me spin this off to what I heard this morning.
Oh shit!
Now this is not no definitive thing here.
Somebody we love,
but. You guys have heard me. We've had him on as a guest. Mike Ferrin does a show on MLB Radio. Mm-hmm. It's really the only sports show that I listen to regularly because I love baseball's my passion, and it's the best show about baseball. It's on from I think 10 to 1. So I usually, as I'm driving in, I will listen. And Mike's on with a former Major League GM, Jim Duquette, who was the GM of the Mets many years ago. Mike, in their second segment at 10:20, they talked about the Guardians signing Paul Sewald, and they both agreed that it was a good move. But then Mike said, he goes, I was thinking about this move a lot yesterday, and I think this could be, obviously, he's not saying he has inside information, but obviously he's a very smart baseball guy. He's well connected. Nothing's been told to him, but he says, It's unusual for the Guardians to spend that kind of money on a relief pitcher, especially when it's already a strength. He was speculating that the reason they may have done this is because now they're going to trade one of their other relievers. Maybe he didn't say definitely Clase, maybe Clase, who knows? But one of their cheaper relievers to get a proven bat. So you guys are have an unhappy look on your face. But if they trade one of their other relievers to get a bat, depending on the trade,
are you referring to Gaddis and Case?
I don't know.
Under no circumstances.
That's what I'm saying.
There's only 3 relievers that they could trade that they would get a legitimate starting hitter.
Yes,
and that's Clase, Gaddis. I don't even know about Gaddis. It's Clase and Smith, maybe Gaddis.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Now, you just said we need sticks.
No.
You've been saying
I'm not cool with that.
I have to see who the sticks.
What type of stick?
I would be okay. I know this is not going to be a popular opinion.
He set
but
this up.
I would be okay with trading Clase. Now you have to get a lot back, and as part of what you get back, you'd have to have a short thing hitter, big time hitter for a number of years. But I'm open to the conversation.
Give me a name.
Give me a top.
Give me a name.
Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, Class A is out of here.
Thank you.
Yes,
Shohei.
we appreciate your services, Class A.
Thank you.
It was great.
Well, so here's your complimentary food basket.
Tell Roy Suzuki we said what's up.
So one of the teams that Mike specifically mentioned 2 teams that could match up. One, Arizona, who they already made a trade with this offseason. And the other one, the Cubs, who they've already made a trade with this offseason.
They always got 3 teams that they work with. So
and San Diego, which is another team.
So who is the hitter?
So now the guys he mentioned on Arizona, he mentioned Alec Thomas and I can't think of the other guy. Now I'm not trading.
Alec Thomas is a respectable name, but I don't know.
Now I'm not trading Emmanuel Clase for either of those guys.
Yeah,
those guys to me can't be the best player in a Class A trade. Now, would I trade Hunter Gaddis for one of those guys? I would. Yes.
All right,
now,
so let me get this.
In terms of the Cubs,
wait a minute.
The Cubs and Guardians are a very interesting trade partners. The Cubs desperately need a back-end reliever, okay?
Okay.
Desperately. They traded for Eli Morgan earlier The Cubs don't have a short closer.
Okay.
They ain't got Cody Bellinger.
Alec Thomas is a young player.
Go ahead. You tried to slide that by me.
Yeah.
I had to put the Mikey McNuggets bad job out of you. You're supposed to have the stats on this. I had to pull this up on my little abacus over here.
Alec Thomas' offensive numbers were not good.
Alec Thomas, no, but Ian Happ?
Okay, so that's what I was getting to. That's the thing I was getting to. Now, he didn't mention Ian Happ specifically. Now, I think the problem with Ian Happ is that Ian Happ, I think, only has 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
So we are assuming.
But Ian Happ would be a perfect player for the Guardians.
All right, 243, 25 home runs. Happ, these are his numbers.
243.
What position he plays?
Go ahead, get your money off.
He's utility, right, Bull?
He's an outfielder.
Plays outfielder.
No, he's not
he had 25 home runs last year.
He was a Gold Glove left fielder. Now, he wouldn't play left. Now, he could play left. They could move Quan to center. That might make some sense.
Yes.
He had 25 dingers last year, 86 RBIs. He led the Cubs in both home runs and RBIs. He had 251 total bases with a slugging plus OPS.
What was his OPS?
782, which is very good.
That's good. That's not very. It's good. It's not great.
For the Guardians to be very good.
What was his OPS the last couple of years? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Ian Happ over the last few seasons.
Yeah.
OPS in 2024, we just mentioned 782. 2023, 791. 2022, 781. He's never had an OPS lower than 757.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good player. He's not a superstar, but he's a Gold Glove fielder.
Gold Glove left
And by the way, he was an infielder coming up through the minors.
That's why I said utility.
Yeah, he was.
In my head.
But he's become an excellent left fielder, and I think Stephen Kwan could play center. Listen, I don't know if that's going to match up because Happ, I think, only has 2 years left on his deal, and I don't know that the Guardians would make a trade. The Cubs have a ton of outfielders. They have 4 starting proven Major League outfielders, plus 3 of their 4 best prospects who are all ready to play in the majors. Ready. They Cubs just don't have room for them. Are outfielders.
I got an idea. Now, y'all, listen, this is. I need to do a segment that says G. Bush's baseball ideas.
I like it. Go ahead.
So here's what we're going to do. What you think about moving Gavin Williams to the bullpen?
I don't like that.
Why?
Because I think he could be an excellent starting pitcher.
I haven't seen it.
No, we've seen good at times, but not excellent yet.
The only reason I say it is because I feel he has overpowering stuff.
Yeah.
For a bullpen rotation type thing, but I think after like the second or third time in the lineup as a starter, he be getting hit hard.
So who would your starting pitchers be if you put him in the bullpen? Just out of curiosity.
Lively's still there, right?
They are loaded in the bullpen. The Guardians have the deepest bullpen. Pedro Avila, who was solid as their last guy in the bullpen, they cut him yesterday to sign Sewald.
Wow.
That's how deep they are in the pen. Even kids that they brought up at the end of last year, Sobrowski, Walter, these guys are really good.
That's why
they are loaded in the pen, and that's why Mike's idea of maybe they're going to trade one of their top bullpenners makes sense. But they've got to get the right hitter back. Again, let me make it last thing on this. Let me make it very clear. I'm not advocating to trade away Emmanuel Clase. I would listen. I'd be open to listening to a conversation.
You still got Lane, right?
They still got Lane, yeah.
Okay.
But Lane's, a platoon guy. And he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So,
and he's hurt.
No, I don't think he's
Lane
hurt.
Thomas?
Like Thomas?
I don't think he's
No,
hurt.
David Fry's hurt.
Yeah, Fry's hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Listen,
That's
they
Fry's
need some
hurt.
power. I don't know that it would work. The Cubs do have a kid, Kevin Alcantara, who's been in the big leagues a little bit. They have another kid, Owen Cassie, who's a top prospect. They're both ready to play in the majors, and they both have big-time power. Now, they haven't done it in the majors. I don't know. But the Guardians need power, and the Cubs need a late-inning reliever.
Yeah.
It
There's
could
the
work out.
makings of
We'll
a
see.
potential framework of a deal.
And I'm not saying it would have to be
Keep an eye on
Clase. It could be Gaddis. It could be
I'd rather
know.
Gaddis.
Yeah.
We'll keep our eye on that,
Yeah.
Bull. It's a hell of a
Yeah.
theory and gives a
We'll
little
see.
more insight into the Paul Sewald deal. Before
Yeah.
we get to our next topic, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Help UCSS be the best product it can be by getting out to as many people, the front end, the back end, any end.
All the
Make sure
ends.
you do the like and subscribe. It costs you $0.00 and does help us out a lot, and we appreciate it. All right, guys, we have Dan Titus from Yahoo coming on in about 15 minutes to talk more on the Cavs. But first, I want to do a little historical deep dive and look at the last 10 quarterbacks drafted with the number 2 pick in the draft to see if we can get any indication or find any pattern of what the Browns might be in for when they get on the clock with the number 2 pick. They might not go quarterback, but for the sake of this, let's assume they are. These are the last 10 quarterbacks, not the second quarterbacks taken.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks taken with the number 2 overall pick. The last 10, starting in order, or the last 2 years, obviously, with Jaden Daniels in 2024 and C.J. Stroud in 2023 and 21. Zach Wilson went number 2 overall to the Jets. 2017, Mitch Trubisky went number 2 to the Bears. 2016, Carson Wentz went number 2 to the Eagles. Let's keep going, Steve. In 2015, Marcus Mariota went number 2 to the Titans. Robert Griffin went in 2012.
We got to go a long way.
I know, we have to go all the way back. I need a 10, though. Donovan McNabb, the number 2 pick in 99. Ryan Leaf, the number 2 pick in 98. And back in 1993, the year I was born, Rick Meyer, who I'm who I'm unfamiliar with.
The Golden Boy.
So those are the last 10 quarterbacks drafted with the number 2 overall pick. Let's go back up to the top, Steve.
No offense to Tim Kelly.
Let's name some hits, some misses, and some in-betweens. Daniels.
It's obviously a huge hit.
I know it's obvious. We're just going to go down. Daniels hit, right?
Stroud hit.
Stroud.
Hit.
Zach Wilson.
Miss.
Terrible.
So we got 2-1 so far. Trubisky.
Terrible.
2-2. Wentz.
Medium.
Nah, that's a miss to me.
Hey, he had a couple years.
It's funny because I loved him coming out of college.
And then he had that year he got hurt.
I worked with him.
And he just never been –
I worked with him in the Senior Bowl. He was actually a really good quarterback in the
What
Senior
happened?
Bowl.
He was having an MVP season
and then he
that
got
year,
hurt.
And he's
Never
never
was the
been the
same.
same.
So you want to put him in the middle?
I say he's a bust because
If
his success wasn't long. If the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders and his career ended up being this,
They'd
we'd be
upset.
disappointed.
That's a good point. All right, so it's a miss. So 2 hits, 3 misses so far. Next, Marcus Mariota.
Miss.
2 hits, 4 misses. Robert Griffin.
The only other hit is McNabb. That's it.
Yeah, that's a miss.
So then 3 and 7. So 3 hits, 7 misses in the last 10 quarterbacks drafted number 2 overall.
I don't think it tells us anything. No offense.
I don't either. I wanted to do the exercise to see if there was a pattern. I couldn't really find a pattern.
I think it's interesting from 1993 to 2011, there was only 3 quarterbacks taken 2. And now we've had 5 in the last how many years?
Go back up, Steve. 5 is since 2016. So
Back then, quarterback
Well, 6 since 2015.
It seemed like back
6
then
is
every
2015.
quarterback played like every game forever. Like you
know.
knew who the quarterback. Like go back to the old AFC Central. You knew Bernie was quarterback.
Boomer.
You knew Boomer. You knew Warren Moon was a quarterback.
Yep.
Automatically.
Yep.
You go to AFC East. You had O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien. Yeah.
You had
Marino.
and then for the Patriots,
The Bills had Jim Kelly.
Bills had Jim Kelly. So
Patriots
you just
had
knew.
Steve Grogan, right? Or was that? No, that was earlier.
That was
Was it Tony Eason?
Tony Easton was part of that
For a little
too.
while.
And then they got Drew Bledsoe for the Patriots.
Yeah.
then
So
But
Tom
yeah,
Brady.
because you didn't change. Like quarterback changes didn't happen as quickly.
no, or coaching changes. It seemed like
Well, part of that was in those days you could win more by running. You could win more with defense than you can now.
Yeah, you had there was a lot more.
The importance of the quarterback. It was still important, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as important as it is now.
You had maybe one receiver. You had a back. Like you didn't have no
Run
2,
the
3
ball.
receivers. Like
Yeah.
you had and then they used to line up in pro formation. They used to have fullback lined up
Yep.
by the
Run the ball.
And why all of a sudden did this technology change
happened
everything?
to I formation?
Remember quarterbacks used to get the ball in shotgun and be like
Yeah.
straight back. They don't listen.
Yeah.
Nobody was turning sideways.
No.
It was take the snap and
With the huge
with
shoulder
the
pads.
And I'm like, how are you not falling backwards? You're gonna trip over yourself.
But you know what though? Crazy as a safety, like when I see that, like today, if a quarterback takes a snap and he doesn't turn, he has open shoulders, you always know that he's going to the left.
Really?
Unless he's a lefty.
Because when you look at this is classified information. This makes you different. It makes you a really good safety. So when a quarterback, they always tell you, like when you growing up, everybody tells you to read the quarterback's eyes. No, you read the quarterback's shoulder. So if I want to throw to the left, I can't throw it. I can't throw to the left like with my shoulder face this way. But if I'm like this, I can get it quick game and go straight to the left. So for me as a safety, if I see a quarterback, if he snaps the ball and he drops back with his shoulders open, I always know he going to the left. If he's a left-hand quarterback, obviously going to the right. But it's like quick, like you got to be quick. That's how you can jump around. Guess where I
Yeah, a
learned?
lot
Guess
more-
where I learned that?
Richard Sherman.
No, I learned that from this guy, coach. What was his name? Jared Crucy. He was the safeties coach for the Cleveland Browns in 2017 when I was here. So I was with the Browns obviously from February to June. And that short amount of time, he was the first person to teach me that. And it like changed my life at safety.
And all the people that was there wasn't doing what he told them to do. Because they don't want
true.
no
that's
game.
True. That's true. That might be true.
do
But
much
it was the craziest thing because I like started doing it,
Yeah.
like really locked in on the quarterback's shoulder, and I was like, man, like you really do
Yeah.
know where he going with the ball. It's kind of crazy.
That's
So,
wild.
Short.
Yeah.
That was short, but yeah,
That's crazy.
Another day, we're going to do a look at the quarterbacks taken second. Not second overall, but the second quarterbacks in draft compared to how the first quarterback in that draft went. I did want to ask you one thing, G. Steve,
But the last 2 years, the second quarterback taken has been the better
Has been
quarterback.
better.
And after
I'm
you
just
go,
curious if
after you say this, I got a question too because I just thought about it. Go ahead.
Steve, pull back 254 real quick. Get the list up. When you look at these guys, especially the more recent ones, we could go back and you could add Mariota to that. But Daniel, Stroud, Wilson, Trubisky, Wentz. I was trying to think. Okay, were there any common characteristics in these guys that made them such highly sought after prospects? And obviously some panned out, some didn't. And I was trying to think with Wilson, and I remember that draft very clearly. He had that crazy pro day, the crazy arm. They thought he could make all the throws. They were looking for the next version of Mahomes.
I
throw off
never
flat.
saw
I was very right about those two.
I never saw
I didn't
it.
think Trubisky or Wilson
Or
would be
Wilson
any
was
good.
going to be good at all. I was confused why they were taking that high. I just didn't think.
Well, the Trubisky thing, which is insane that he got drafted before Mahomes and at this point Watson, but whatever.
No, still crazy he got taken before.
Yeah,
Watson.
yeah. Trubisky only played 1 year.
it's like he played 13 games.
And it wasn't like he was at North Carolina.
And it
Like,
wasn't-
he couldn't start until he was.
And he was
that
not
weird.
killing. His numbers weren't like, oh, he's the man. It
Yeah.
was, that was very confusing why he had moved up like that much. And then another guy, Trey Lance, I never understood why he was
I
moved
never
up that.
understood. The Trey Lance one
because
really
it was
used to
weird
bother me.
because I don't think they was playing. Like, did they schedule a whole game or something for him to play
Yeah,
the game?
they played. I think it was Maryland. They played one regular game during COVID year, so he could get that opportunity.
I'm like, that's wild.
Mitch Trubisky was from here, Mike. Did you know that?
Yeah,
I saw him play in high school.
Medina
once.
or Mentor, one of the
He
two.
was at Mentor, yeah. They was like 5
They had a
wide.
great year that year, man.
They was like 5 wide.
They
when
beat
he was
McKinney.
there.
It was pounded
I
us.
remember seeing him play. I can't remember if it was Ignatius or Eds. They probably played both, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It was it was a long time ago at this point, but he was impressive in high school.
He was
a
killing
great
in
high
high
school player. But the fact that it took him like 3 years to become a starter at North Carolina, I was like, how is it? And then after 1 year, he's going to be a top pick in the NFL draft?
He never did anything.
So that brings me to my point, though.
Yeah.
You could fall in love with some of the physical traits and be blown away by what guys could be without necessarily the production on the back end to solidify traits into production. You look at Trubisky, like you said, small sample size. Zach Wilson, he was good at BYU, didn't destroy the record books, didn't throw any, wasn't like 70 touchdowns or anything. And even going back, Mariota doesn't fit into this category, but before that, RG3 did have the crazy production.
And to be fair, I mean,
And he could have been very good if it wasn't for
He was
injuries.
great that rookie year.
If he didn't get hurt, he got hurt.
You never know. The problem with RG3 is he was so slight.
That's what they said about Jaden Daniels.
I think
He's not
This
as slight
they
as
said about
RG3
Jaden.
was, is he?
Yeah,
He is very slim.
yeah.
All right.
I think RG3 could. RG3 had problems diagnosing defenses. Like, you couldn't really shut him down when he had his full capabilities with his legs, because it was like he was so dynamic and they was really running the read option and doing things like that. There were so many wide lanes open for him to pass the ball. It was easy reads. But, man, I always say, like you said earlier, if you are going to be a straight drop back passer and you're going to be out here slinging this pigskin, you better be elite.
That's right.
You got to have the arm. You got to have the intelligence to throw the football and you got to see the field like, oh, yeah, you're not open yet, but I know they're running, and you just throwing it, and you got to be really good or you're going to throw these picks. By the way, my question was this.
Oh, yeah.
If you do, say for instance, and I want everybody to get their opinion on it, if you do draft Shador or Cam Ward with the second overall pick, right? Are they starting week 1?
No.
In a perfect world, no. I think the plan would be, I think I'd rather have a veteran and give him a chance to learn. And even if that veteran got hurt, I'd start somebody else. If I determined in the beginning of the season that I think this guy is better off for his career not to play, then I would stick with it. At least for some weeks.
I'm doing the Bernie routine. We drafted you too. You're not playing this year.
But here's the thing, though. The reason that they're going to draft a quarterback is because they need a quarterback and they need to save their jobs.
It is tricky with their stats.
So if you don't play him for 5 weeks and you 1-5 or 1-6, theoretically you could get fired.
That's true.
And then the interim coach gets a boost by just playing the rookie.
That's right. And most quarterbacks drafted 2 are going to play, if not week 1, pretty close to it.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I'd sign Dalton or Joe Flacco or somebody to start the season. Joe Flacco ring when everybody would be, oh, Joe.
I mean, it's a tough situation because, man, you want to win football games, and I'm sure they may have wanted Jaden Daniels to sit. I'm sure they may have wanted.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, Jaden. I mean, listen. Sometimes the quarterback makes it obvious that he don't need to sit.
Well, if that's the case, then all right. But
it was obvious to Washington, Jaden Daniels did not need to sit, and they were right.
You know these quarterbacks need to sit.
Every
last one of them.
I'm not saying that they
Jaden
don't.
Daniels didn't need to.
I'm talking about in this upcoming draft.
Every
last one of them.
I'm not saying they don't, but I'm just saying the circumstance is a catch-22.
As a coach, do you think that buys you time? If you be like, I'm that kid's not ready to play yet.
No.
When he plays, he's ready.
I think it's even worse because after you start losing, people are going to clamor to see what the rookie is because they're going to say, this is the line. We all know we're not going anywhere this year. We all know we're not going to the playoffs. We all know we're not good. Well, why don't you just put the kid out there and let's grow?
And that's a mistake a lot of teams make.
Because that'll ruin them.
is starting a guy before he's ready to play. And we'll see. Like that happened with Bryce Young, and he bounced back the second half of last year. We'll see where the rest of his career goes. Like maybe he ends up being a good.
And you're gonna hear all the examples. C.J. Stroud did it.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels did it. Look at all
Nix.
the Bo Nix did it, and we're sitting here being conservative, trotting Kirk Cousins out here or whoever it is.
Right.
So there's another thing that comes along with this. The quarterback is the question of, do you start him now or do you start him later? And if it's Shedeur Sanders, y'all got to be ready. Shedeur Sanders, to be honest, like I think if you draft Shedeur Sanders, that's the biggest media personality
it's gonna be crazy.
since Baker.
Yeah.
More than Odell Beckham Jr. I think
It's going to be nuts. But let's hold it there for now.
We'll couch
We got a
that.
guest.
Let's go.
Well, obviously, won't be our last conversation about the Browns drafting a quarterback. We've got another 8-9 weeks.
And we will do it
Get into
probably
that. Let's
in some
get
capacity.
back to the Cavs now that we talked about
Every
Cavs
day.
earlier.
Yeah, let's do an ad read. We'll bring in our guest. Rocket Money, guys, is your best friend in your pocket. It helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions and even some subscriptions you weren't aware you were paying for twice. Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It was like having a personal assistant for my finances. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Just go to rocketmoney.com/lockdown today. That is rocketmoney.com/lockdown, rocketmoney.com/lockdown. And with that, we have Dan Titus, who covers the NBA for Yahoo, joining the show. Dan, appreciate you taking the time to join us. How you doing today?
What's going on, fellas? How you feeling?
Good.
I don't know. I'm not feeling that great after the way the Cavs played yesterday.
That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. I mean, Darius Garland, how often is the 90% free throw shooter going to miss 2 shots in the clutch? They let that game slip away, and I think that there are some red flags for it, but I think that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I'm curious, Dan. That play when Sengun shoves Jared Allen to the ground, and then they replay it, and I'm obviously an older fan, so I'm always like, I want more physicality in the game. But it's not like he shoved him to the ground. There was no bad. How is that not a technical foul or an intentional foul? What happened?
The consistency of the officiating in the NBA, I think, is something that Adam Silver needs to look at. This seemed like some home cooking to me. You know, this was a bang play. To me, that's a no call. It's just a no call, or you got to call the foul. This isn't a Jared Allen thing. So I think that this was just a bad officiating opportunity for the Houston Rockets to get a call late in the game. But that's not ultimately what lost the Cavs this game. You know what I mean? Like, there was plenty of opportunities where they were getting bullied on the block all game. You can't have Amen Thompson getting 16 rebounds. Steven Adams off the bench having 11 rebounds. Like, they were just out. They were out-muscled the entire game. And I think that also speaks to a bigger issue that the Cleveland Cavaliers might want to address by the trade deadline.
You know, that's what I was going to go to. You know, the overall physicality. We saw what happened with the New York Knicks a couple years ago in that playoff series. Hartenstein really gives us, buckets every time he gets on the floor, whether it's for the Knicks. Now you see him do that for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Is this something that is a blueprint for other teams? Will other teams say, look, Cleveland is very good. They got a great record. They got they move the ball. They do some things. But we're going to muddy the game up and make them be physical. Is this something that is a blueprint moving forward that the Cavs are going to have to deal with?
100%. I think that the scouting report's already been made, because in wins, look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're the best three-point shooting team in the league. They're the most efficient in terms of offensive rating. But when you get into the trenches with them, can they hang? And we saw them struggle in every one of their losses. In each of the 7 losses, they've shot 32% from the three-point line. They struggle when anytime something gets physical, they wind up jacking up shots. And that's not going to be a recipe if you want to be a title contending team. I think that they've missed opportunities. Obviously, Evan Mobley didn't play in this game, but they're going to have to play through their bigs a little bit more and slow this tempo down. I thought that the Houston Rockets got way too many fast break points. Their transition defense wasn't great last night. So these are the types of things that you can kind of clean up as you're getting longer into the season.
You know what? Let me ask you this, Dan. In the last sets, we've seen a lot of one-on-one going on with the Cavs there. Donovan ended up doing his step back. Darius tried to drive it in on 3 people, and obviously that didn't work. This Cavs team usually is better as a team basketball when they're swinging the thing around. Do you think when we get into more playoff basketball and when things get serious, do you think that we continue to see the Donovan and Darius taking those last shots, or do you think that, Kenny Atkinson draws up plays and they more of a team style, obviously when Evan comes back in their full strength?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the latter because, Kenny Atkinson coming from the Golden State Warriors, and I think he learned how to develop an offense, a fast pace, ball movement. That's really been the key to their success this season. So there's going to be those hero ball moments for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I think this one was like the masterclass of it. I mean, they shot 17 for 42 between them last night. So I think it's a good thing that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are still willing to be aggressive because there's going to be those moments where they're going to have to take over at some point down the stretch. But I think that this team is definitely better and more consistent when they have everyone involved. So I think that also starts with having Evan Mobley on the court. I mean, I think he's the engine that's really unlocked this team to be the team that they are right now. And so the quicker that they can get him back, the better.
Dan, you mentioned Mobley, and when the Cavs are healthy, they go 10, 11 deep. And we know that you're not going to play that many guys in the playoffs. But and in the same vein, we're talking about maybe making a trade. We've been talking about, trying to get a wing player. But now we're talking about, well, maybe they need another big guy that can, battle and be more physical with teams like the Rockets. The Cavs don't have a lot in terms of trade assets. What do you think they can do to improve, if anything, at the trade deadline?
I mean, I know that one of the players that's been linked to them is Cam Johnson, and I hope that there could be something that could be made there. Maybe the Cavs, being that they don't have a first-round pick until 2030, maybe they can make a deal similar to the Suns and, split those up and try to see if they can get, maybe a couple seconds to get to Brooklyn to get Cam Johnson, because I think that's the player that they're missing. A guy that's a 3-and-D wing that can take some pressure off of the backcourt that's struggling at the point of attack. That's their biggest need. So if they can get that or some caliber player, like that's the most coveted player in the league right now. But I think that the Cavs are working with something. They have some tradable contracts. Isaac Okoro is only making $10 million. George Niang's on a favorable deal. Like they have money to move around, but I think that that's what their goal should be at the deadline. They got to get a wing, and then if they have something left over, go get a discount big, or maybe you can find someone in the buyout market to make sure you don't hit that second.
Yeah, he stole my question. Listen, he cut me off. Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson was obviously the next way where we were going. But I'll throw this in here. When you have a Cam Johnson and they're looking to match the money and send guys away, are you worried about the chemistry? One thing that we always hear around here is if every time we get a good team or we get a decent team, we're worried that they're going to bring somebody in and it's going to change things and they're going to all of a sudden be like the Indiana Pacers or Ron Artest or something. But is this a situation where, Cam Johnson could come in and fit in? And do you worry about things like chemistry, especially when a team that, is playing so well?
I mean, at a general sense, I do feel you in terms of like bringing in anybody new and messing up the cohesion that you may have. But if we're talking the caliber of player of like a Cam Johnson, a guy that's already been to an NBA Finals, he's been in the playoffs before. He's really just on a losing team right now. So I think he would probably be a perfect fit. Very unselfish player, doesn't require a high usage rate to be successful, and he's unselfish and he locks in on defense. All that to me fits the formula of what the Cavs are building and what they have. So I actually think addition by subtraction is probably a good thing. I think that they haven't gotten consistent performances from Max Strus. Karis LeVert has been in and out of the lineup. Isaac Okoro as well. I think they can make an upgrade here, and it's not going to really hurt the longevity of this team and their success that they've seen to date.
Dan, when you look at these 7 losses that the Cavs have, out of those 7 losses, what is your takeaway? Like, what is the way to beat the Cavs? Because obviously last night, some people would say the Rockets is physical. When they lost back-to-back to the Hawks, it was more of a taller wings type thing. Celtics was the first time playing it. What is the Cavs' true weakness, and are you worried about that being exposed in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's just attacking their backcourt. I mean, they just can't guard defensively, and any time that they're going to face any type of bigger wing, like the Celtics of Jaylen Brown and even Derek White, he's not a bigger guard, but like he plays like one. If you shut down their backcourt, what's the next option? Who's the next person that it's going to go to? Which is why I think it's prudent for them to get Evan Mobley and Jared Allen touches early, slow the game down, play through them, and then that will open up the court so they can get more off-ball actions for Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, free them up so they actually have some room and ability to shoot, and they're not just left swinging the ball, working the shot clock down, and then just chucking a three. Because ultimately, that's not where the Cavaliers are going to be successful, and that's where they've had the most trouble. Lou Dort, I think we talked about before with the physicality, Lou Dort beat him up. And the same thing goes for Alperen Sengun and what the Houston Rockets did. So I think that they are being battle tested. They know that they're a little bit weaker in terms of their physicality. So I think that they're going to continue to be challenged in that way unless they address it at the deadline.
Dan, I was going to ask a question about Donovan Mitchell, but then I literally just saw 1 second ago your colleague Dan Devine just released his picks for the Eastern Conference All-Stars. I'm not sure if you saw his article on that, but in his article, he had a Cavs guard starting and 3 Cavs making the All-Star team. Evan Mobley was a reserve. Donovan Mitchell was a reserve. And he selected Darius Garland as the starter in the backcourt with Jalen Brunson on the Eastern Conference All-Star team. His argument, and you should read the article, great article on yahoosports.com, yeah. Highly recommend it from Dan, who was a great guest on this show too, was he said Donovan's having a good season. Darius has been their best player this year in the backcourt. When you hear that, do you agree with Dan, or do you think, we may have to re-talk Dan into the ladder here of the Cavs backcourt hierarchy?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the probably one of the biggest surprises that I had of this season was how Donovan Mitchell was going to come into this season and his approach. And I think the one of the reasons that the Cavs have been successful, not only because of unlocking Evan Mobley, but it's also because Donovan Mitchell was willing to sacrifice. And Darius Garland's been struggling the last couple of years. He was battling injuries, but I also think he didn't really get into a rhythm playing with Donovan Mitchell as his backcourt mate. And he's ceding touches. I think we're seeing the more efficient Darius Garland that I don't think anyone expected him to be one of the top contenders for 50, 40, 90 this year in terms of efficiency. He's been outstanding. And he just raises the floor of this team when he's involved and he's actually getting the opportunities to be more of a score-first guard, but then also being a facilitator. And I think that's only been able to evolve because Donovan Mitchell has taken a bit of a step back, taking less shots, being more efficient, and kind of letting his backcourt mate cook. I'm not mad at him putting Darius Garland in the starting lineup, to be honest, and I think it's a pretty bold selection. I don't know that he's going to get there, but I'm not mad at it at all.
Dan, when you look at the Eastern Conference, obviously the Celtics, even with the Cavs having the best record, well, I guess I shouldn't say obviously. Do you think the Celtics deserve to still be the favorites in the East, even with the Cavs having the best record?
For sure. They're in cruise control right now because, they're seemingly healthy. They're not playing their best basketball, but I do think they are getting that sense of adversity like a lot of championship teams do. They have this little bit of a hangover. They're going to get some losses, but I don't think they've really kicked it into high gear yet. They've already had one victory against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think that was just their test of testing the waters, all right, where do we kind of stand here and how good is this team? The Boston Celtics can be physical, so I still feel like they're the team to beat. They have 2 of the most explosive 3-and-D wings that you have in the game and also lockdown defenders at Drew Holiday and Derek White, and that's not even talking about their front court. So this team, the roster is just too deep, top down, and they play the same style of launching a lot of threes and winning that 3-point variance game. And if the Cavaliers are missing their 3-pointers, it hasn't been good, and that's been 7 losses this year. So they can keep up, but I think a couple moves at the deadline, I think, can make the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit more competitive and bridge that gap a little bit between the Celtics and them.
All right, man, we're going to get you up out of here, but we need you to give us a sound bite. So we need something to put on the internet. So what we need is one player that nobody really recognizes, but is a low-key undercover superstar.
Amani Bates.
Well, actually, Dan, what do you think about Amani Bates?
I'm on that level.
What do you think about Amani Bates?
I've watched him in summer league the last 2 years, and his growth from the first year to last year was crazy. Him and Craig Porter Jr. were like 2 guys that for some reason I always wound up watching the Cavs play, and I'm like, yo, they gotta find minutes for Porter Jr. too. It's just a shame he got hurt, but I think both of those guys actually should be rotational players in the next couple of years. Like they're
Clip that.
I think
Your guy.
Yeah.
All right, so you gave us that clip, so we'll go with Imani Bates as an undercover superstar. Tell me one household name that is secretly washed, but everybody don't know it yet.
Ooh.
Secretly washed. Damn, who's washed? I'm gonna say. I mean, Draymond Green's too obvious.
That's too obvious.
Yeah.
Washed. I'm gonna go with DeMar DeRozan.
Okay, mid-range king. Okay, I like that.
Mid-range king, but he doesn't help you win. I think he's always a guy that's gonna get his in 20, but like it's not really gonna matter.
I was gonna go with Bradley Beal.
He been wild.
Oh,
I mean, he's
yeah,
got secret.
That's not.
That's been fooling
been
me.
wild.
Dan, I got one more.
that's why nobody wants him.
Yeah,
This
that's
man
right.
how does he have a no trade clause? It's just beyond
I don't know.
me.
Yeah.
man.
It's
That
him
is
and
nuts.
LeBron. It's the most ridiculous club of all time. Dan, I did have one more question real quick. I just thought of this, but
Yeah.
we talk about the Cavs. They got out rebounding, out physical. A name that I think actually could make some sense in the buyout market if he becomes available would be Kevin Love. Just curious. I know he's in that kind of maybe that washed category, but what do you think about the Kevin Love fit with the Cavs as a potential buyout
reunion.
candidate?
I mean, if you're talking about chemistry and worried about locker room and leadership, bring Kevin Love back. What better reunion to have at this point? In Miami, they're probably still going for it because they can't afford to end up in the outside of the playoffs because then they're going to owe an unprotected pick to the OKC Thunder. But I think bringing back Kevin Love in the buyout market is a great idea, especially with Kel'el Ware starting to emerge there. He's going to get more minutes. I would absolutely be interested in Kevin Love, and that shores up your front court a little bit. You get someone that can actually put a body on somebody and rebound and doesn't need touches. I love that. And he can play the pick and roll and stretch the floor. So, yeah, go get Kevin Love. I love that call.
Look at that.
Okay,
Nice job,
McNuggets.
Mike. Thanks, Dan. We appreciate it, man.
Check out Dan
No
on
doubt.
Yahoo
Thanks, Phil.
Sports.
All right.
Does a great podcast. Dan, we appreciate you very much, man. Thank you. All right,
Mike
guys.
throwing out the Kevin Love reunion.
He been
You feeling good about
He
that?
been
Yeah, I like
flirting
that.
with that
I
K
like
Love
that. I
thing
like
for
that.
about a good 3-4 weeks.
I like
now.
that. I like that a lot.
All right.
ain't
They need
bad.
front court. He can space the floor so you don't sacrifice. He's a good rebounder. He's not the Kevin Love he used to be.
How much is he playing these days?
I didn't have my Kevin Love tab up
He's
today. I
not
didn't
that
think we were gonna,
physical at this point, is
didn't
he?
think we were gonna get there.
He's still a knockdown shooter, right?
Yeah, but they need somebody to be physical up front.
Oh, well, that's not him.
And
He's a great rebounder. Still a good rebounder.
Hey,
Still a good rebound.
Kevin Love, by the way, real quick, is
Yeah.
playing about 13 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Not a high usage guy. He's averaging 6.5 points and 4.5 rebounds in 16. I mean, it's pretty efficient for the
4.5
amount of time he's
rebounds is
playing.
pretty good in
Oh,
13 minutes.
I just got an email.
Yeah.
It's from Brad Sellers, and it says, "Go get Carmelo Anthony."
Oh, my goodness. you did.
That's a good one.
out
Okay,
to
well, we
Brad.
didn't mention the Evan Mobley injury before we
Yeah.
brought on Dan. So let's talk about that for 1 second here, guys. Evan Mobley has now missed 3 games.
Yeah.
He's listed as day-to-day. It started as just calf soreness, which is no big deal at first.
Yeah.
Miss a game. You could be listed on the injury report as, frankly, anything, something
Yeah,
sore,
yeah.
miss a game. It got upgraded to a calf strain. Since then, he's missed every game since Oklahoma City, which is their most recent 3 games. I'm not saying it's time to panic by any means. We have
you
no
are.
update. We have no idea if it's a grade 1 calf strain, or grade 3 calf strain. Recovery time on a calf strain can take a couple days or a couple weeks, sometimes even a couple months. But it can lead to other injuries, a la a rolled ankle, Achilles, whatever. We've all seen the importance of Evan Mobley. I'm just curious on the concern level. Is this tiny, medium, big? Where do you fall on the Evan Mobley injury?
I mean, as long as it's not something more serious, it's 3 months till the playoffs. I mean, I'm not rushing him back. I have no concern. They would know if it was the Achilles at this point. They would know if there was something to it.
Just don't rush him back because
Yeah.
the calf thing, if he come back too early, he's just going to mess it up again. And right now, I mean, they lost last night, but, I mean, they'll be all right.
It's not even really relevant. Like, it doesn't matter how they play without him because you're not going to rush him back no matter what. Even if they're playing badly without him, you can't rush him back.
Yeah,
that's something that can reoccur. Any kind of strain of a muscle.
I mean, it's an epidemic right now. I think Luka's out with a calf strain. Porzingis was out all last year with a calf strain.
He missed the whole year because of a calf strain?
I mean, he was out.
Calf strains can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They can linger. That's the issue with them.
All right, well, then I do
Didn't Giannis miss because of a calf
I mean, Joe Burrow had it.
I'm about to say that.
Yeah, but he played through it. He didn't play well.
Yeah, like he was walking and
That's
limping.
true.
Like
That wasn't good.
So look,
It's because he's tall.
that's why it's good to get off to a nice little start. All that good record stuff. Like if the Cavs lose 20 games this year, who cares? Did you get Did you get you number one overall in the East?
Yeah.
We're not gonna remember how many games they won when the playoffs start. The goal is to get these dudes ready to go for the playoffs. And here's what I want to see too. He said something. I could see now. I can evaluate these role players. See now sometimes people can hide. You can hide people in the lineup because you got your whole roster and firepower is ready to go, and then you got guys like Max Strus just be walking around. You'd be like,
yeah.
And look, we gotta if they want to give up Cam Johnson, we got to start understanding who we giving up.
I think we've all kind of shifted from don't mess with the chemistry to let's get better.
Yeah, because
they've lost 3 games here in the last what?
They're 3-6 or 3-3 in their last 6. Excuse me.
And it's not that anybody's panicking. I don't think.
No.
This idea that they can't make a trade because of chemistry. In the end, again, I said if I'm going to make a lateral move or maybe a minuscule upgrade, maybe I wouldn't want to mess with it. But if I can make a significant upgrade, then absolutely, I do it.
Here's what I got a problem with.
This just got to be the right guy. That's all. Like the Jimmy Butler thing didn't because we just felt like he wouldn't mesh well with the team.
No,
but Cam Johnson, I feel like he fits with what the Cavs want to do. So
do you think they need a wing or a big more? If he had to go, and we're talking similar level players here.
Well, because Mobley's come. It's not like Mobley's out for the year.
Like wing,
yes.
And Jared Allen plays stronger when Mobley's there. That's pause-worthy, but like you can't tell another man he plays stronger when another man is in the game.
In the end, Mike, the big is for depth. The wing is for starting.
So
it's got to be the wing. In a perfect world, they get both. I mean, if they can get Cam Johnson and Kevin Love, and let's do it. I mean,
I think
it'd be interesting to have Kevin Love come back.
I like Kevin Love being there. Coming back.
We couldn't wait to get rid of him. I certainly couldn't wait to get rid of him.
No, that's not true because after his last year, I was
like his
sad
last year,
that he kind of because he turned it up.
He turned around, and then he kind of played
I thought the extension at the time was such a stupid move that soured me.
Well, they had no choice. It was like Tristan Thompson. It was like they kind of had no choice.
They did. The championship run was over.
Stop it.
Tristan Thompson
he was a big part of the reason why they won it.
They did that for nostalgia. Yeah. They was like, we got to keep somebody.
And that wasn't he with LeBron's agency, Rich Paul?
Yeah, Tristan was. The reason
No. I'm saying Tristan Thompson was during the run, so I understood that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Kevin Love extension.
I got you. I
understand why they did it.
I got you.
When
they had no stars.
They had to have somebody.
Star. He wasn't a star anymore.
He was the best player on the team.
I know, but they were going to suck, and they did.
Anyway, G was right about Giannis and the calf strain. By the way, he missed the final 3 games.
Giannis missed the whole postseason.
Missed the final 3 games of the regular season and the entire playoff series.
I thought you said Porzingis.
I say Giannis and Porzingis.
Porzingis missed the beginning of the year.
Giannis is the freak of nature, so something like that could impact Giannis in the playoffs. I'm not saying it's a massive concern, but I am a little worried.
The thing that scares me the most for the Cavs in terms of like the matchups, and it ain't the physicalness. I think they'll be okay with that. The problem is with me is when I watch them play, and if I was the Celtics, there is no way you could play George Niang and Max Strus at the same time because I'm gonna eat.
Yeah,
I'm eating the whole time. Like in anybody you put on them, even if Max Strus is guard Drew Holiday, that's buckets. Derek White, that's buckets. Tatum and Brown, we're not even gonna talk about. George Niang is like 6'4".
Strus is that much of a defensive liability?
Strus ain't 6'4". I'm not Strus. Niang's not 6'4".
Niang look like he about 6'5.5", bro.
He like
Niang's taller than he gets credit for.
I know,
way,
but he gets
how
this.
could you be taller than you get credit for?
He's saying he's 6'4".
Yeah.
I mean,
Niang's 6'4".
I mean, how McNuggets? When you know Niang get about this far off the floor, about this much.
Yeah.
Listen, Niang's not an elite athlete.
Mike's
I'm not
Niang
arguing that.
apologist.
Yes,
so
that's his man. That's
I'm
his
not
man.
saying he's an elite athlete, but he's
dog.
6'4".
Here's the bottom line.
They
Put a
can't-
bottom line this for you.
Yeah,
The Cavs can't win anything without Evan Mobley.
That's a fact.
yeah.
Fact.
So if Evan Mobley's injury ends up being a season thing, season's over. They're not winning anything in the playoffs without Evan Mobley.
That's
a
messed
fact.
up, boy.
I mean, it's just true.
No, it's not.
Well, how far could they go without Evan Mobley
If
in the
they
playoffs?
trade for Cam Johnson and get Kevin Love,
no,
I think
No,
it
they need
could.
Mobley.
Without Mobley,
No.
without
It could-
Mobley,
it could
the
work,
best
Mac-
thing, in my
Mac-
opinion,
No.
you know better than me.
No.
Best the Cavs do without Mobley is win the first round.
That's it.
Depends on matchup. I think they can make the Eastern Conference Finals. I can't see a world where they.
You think they could win in the semis?
If they play Milwaukee has no perimeter defenders at the moment, they could always acquire one. But
Yeah.
right now, that is a terrible matchup for Milwaukee. If that's the one for it, yeah, I can see Cleveland beating Milwaukee.
But as our
no way you're beating the Knicks or Celtics without Evan
as
Mobley.
our last
No
guest
chance.
said
You only got
so
Paul Sewald.
eloquently, we ain't got nobody to guard the basketball either.
Yeah,
we
that's
can't
true.
cover nobody in the pick and roll
Yeah.
when it gets to the playoffs. So listen, they could go back and forth, and those guards are a little bit bigger than our guards. I think it actually comes down to defense, to be honest with you, because when the Cavs don't score, what are they going to do? Like, what do they hang their hat on? Like, they have to be able to get certain stops. And you can even see it against the Rockets. Like, you're up 6. You don't want to give up 2 3-pointers. You don't. Like, make them work. Like, even if you got to run a guy off and he gets a layup, but don't let him, that's the thing that I think Cam Johnson could really help with.
All right, we got
We've seen it
super
the last
chats.
couple of years, Mike, real quick. It's not necessarily the best team, although the Celtics probably were the best team last year. And I know they were without Porzingis, but it's the healthiest team.
Yeah, and this is the Cavs' first injury scare all season.
Yeah.
So, super chats. Let's get to it. Our guy Eddie, shout out to Eddie, says, I find it very interesting that Bull doesn't use wins to determine Hall of Fame eligibility for pitchers because it's a team stat, but he uses team record against Miles for DPOY. Team stats should be used for team accolades.
I like that, Eddie. That was raw. That was tough. That was tough. I like that.
He said, I didn't notice I did
use
that.
team wins.
I like that, Eddie.
On individual awards in football and in baseball to some degree as kind of a tiebreaker or whatever. I feel like if your team, when it comes to being valuable, first of all, it's a totally different sport. In football, you have to. The team's got to be good. If the team's not good, how valuable are you? Is my point. Now, to be fair, Defensive Player of the Year is not the most valuable. Doesn't say most MVP of defense. It's Defensive Player of the Year. I just think, in my opinion, Myles Garrett wasn't head and shoulders above enough guys, and so I would lean towards a guy on a better team in that situation. But it's a fair argument.
So you're saying if
So you giving it to PS2?
To me, if Myles Garrett blew away the field this year,
Like he had
even at 3-14, I would vote for
So
him.
if he had 20 sacks, you'd be
Yeah,
like,
if it
So
was
who's your DPOI?
I don't even know. I'm not sure.
Trey Hendrickson?
Probably not. Maybe Patrick Surtain.
PS2. Sprint it up there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Next.
Sorry, I was telling Anthony something. Next, we got a couple super chats here from Salvatore, the 216. First one says, what kind of statement, if any, do you believe the Cavs want to make towards JB with the Pistons game? Also, we are now 0-2 in games where G disregards our opponent.
Yes.
1-2 in games. 1-2.
No, he disregarded Oklahoma City the first time.
Yeah, I did.
That's why 1-2. 1-2.
Yeah,
I read that wrong.
1 and 2. I did disregard them, and I'm not taking it. I took it back. SGA has been on a
dropped the
murder
50
spree
piece last night.
He got 80 points last night. SGA has been going off. So I apologize to him. I will not apologize to the Rockets. They are who they are.
Okay. And no, they're not going to make any statement against JB. They played him already.
No,
I said I already
It's
played him,
the
didn't they?
second
They don't
time.
hate JB.
No, and
owe
it's the
JB
second time
money.
they've played him.
Yeah.
So, Salvatore also says, do you agree with Draymond that usually a player like Evan Mobley has to be snubbed first before becoming a first-time All-Star?
Draymond says a lot of dumb stuff, but this might actually be true.
I mean, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, their rookie years, as great as they were, didn't make the All-Star team, which was wild.
Did you hear Draymond said that Jaden Daniels is better than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson?
He lost his mind.
I mean,
I did not hear that, no.
I don't know if he said they were better or maybe just that he'd take them over those guys.
If Jaden Daniels wins the Super Bowl, I will say he's better.
If
All right, we got two more.
Yeah.
Both from Salvatore. Shout out to Salvatore, the 216
Salvatore.
today. He says, doesn't it seem that the Cavs being nice guys is a double-edged sword? In boxing, when you get fouled with no ref help, you hit them right back.
Yeah, there's something to that. Like, nobody did anything on the Cavs when he got thrown to the ground.
I'm curious how they respond at home.
Made me upset.
I'm not a very good sport. I don't play the very good victim. Like, if you do something to me, I'm gonna take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
I'm really big and large, and my brothers are too. We're just gonna jump you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight you one-on-one.
The Rockets are here on Saturday. They didn't get revenge in the game, but I would expect a Şengün hard foul, and you put Tristan in, let him goon it up a little bit. All right, next.
The lemon
and
pepper
last,
steppers.
Salvatore says, can we trade Merrill, Max, and picks for 6 inches of height for both Donovan and DG? Might be the only trade that will really put us over the top, pun intended.
I don't know how I feel about a man, selling stuff for 6 inches. I don't know how.
I mean, if you're gonna sell stuff, you might as well get a whole,
get the foot long, get that spicy Capicola.
All right, we're going to overtime. In overtime, Paul's going to tell us the 5 countries he would like to live in if it wasn't the United States.
Yeah.
See you then. Peace.